Good morning. Good morning. I believe my mic is hot. Can everybody hear me? No. Okay. Well, it's close. There we go. There we go. I'm good. Good morning. Welcome to the June 20th, 2024 Annual Owners Member Meeting. I'm going to call. Here we go. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If you are able, would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining us this morning. I'm Lisa Vines, your governing board president. If you haven't already done so, would you please silence your phone? All right, we're going to have a problem with this mic. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. Thank you, Ken. We'll take GM to the rescue. We do have a quorum this morning with all 9 of our directors here. And with that, we are going to roll into get the meeting started with our report from our interim GM, Ken Olson. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Is this my, yes, it sounds like we're working very well. Good. Yeah, I think we should add a microphone to the job description for the GM. I think that would help. So anyhow, moving forward, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the board. Back in April, I got a call. They said, or a little late March maybe, would you be willing to stand in for a short period of time while we're looking for a GM? I said, no, after a while, I said, I'll call you in a couple of days. I thought about it. I said, you know what? This is a great opportunity to get to know the entire community actually from the inside out, as opposed to just learning it from the outside in. So actually, it's been a great opportunity to work with the board, and I thank them for giving me the opportunity here to work, and especially with Jack Leary and Lisa Vines, who I work most specifically with, and I've touched base with some of the other board members too. So moving forward, one of the things that's really important is to engage the community in the work of the board. And one of the ways they do that is through these 5 significant standing committees: budget, finance, chartered clubs, sports, pavilions, properties, and golf. The way it works is that the board actually will have a person assigned as a director or as a chair, and then they select their committee. This is the great opportunity for committee members to actually provide input to the board for decision making, but also this is an opportunity to gather more people that are interested in serving and actually training how the process works in this governance of our community by sitting on a committee. So I think that's a very, very important aspect of community involvement for decision making, and recommendations are made to the board. Now, in so doing, some of the things that are going to be looked at, and this is all going to be part of the longer range planning with the strategic and master plan that we're just kind of getting at the very forefront of. And as a new manager comes in, they'll be picking that ball up and running with the board of directors on that. But think about the areas we need to be looking at. Water conservation, which we've got well in hand. Todd Patty does a great job in terms of dealing with our ADWR, that's the Arizona Department of Water Resources. He does a great job in working with the water use and compliance for that, and we're in really great shape. But water is a significant aspect of looking forward. It's really kind of what the liquid gold is of the future for us. Information technology is obviously something that needs to grow and we need to actually take a look at how does that impact, and the use of IT impact us as residents. And we were just having a conversation right before the meeting started, where maybe how do we pay our bills right now? We do it, you know, can we do it electronically? Can we look at other ways to use IT in our strategic analysis moving forward? Space utilization and club alignment within the space utilization matrix is something that we all can identify with, either plus or minus. Everybody's got an opinion on that. Space utilization, as community clubs and projects grow, there's going to be more and more demand for space, and the allocation of how we do that, we want to be more effective and efficient in doing that. So that's something that's really critical in terms of how we actually live our life here. And of course, sports courts, athletics, and recreation are all aspects of one of the reasons we're here and enjoying the great community we live in. So what I wanted to do is take a look really quick, just give you a quick statistical analysis. I'm not going to bore you with a lot of details, but on the left-hand side, that 18,991 would be essentially any person that at least one time during the year has swiped their card at one of these facilities, at the rec centers. So that's 19,000. That's about 68% of our total population has actually used a facility, rec center, at least one time. But that's really a significant number. The other total on the other side is the total check-ins, and you can look at that. That's 855,000 check-ins. That includes guests, multiple check-ins by a given person. That's a really dramatic number. And I draw your attention to, on the left-hand side, you can see where you've got all rec centers, but look at the library. That's 7709 for the distinct member count. But over on the right-hand side, there's about almost 79,000 check-ins for the library. Now, there's one other piece of information I want to share, and that is the top 5 activities at the rec centers. If you take a look at the very first one, obviously pool would be anybody's first guess, right? That's about 50% of the check-ins at the rec centers that we've had there is right at the pool. But fitness is very, very important. And right now I know we're looking at getting new equipment in the fitness center, and we're looking at maybe the alignment to how we best align so we maximize the use of that space and make it even a more effective fitness room, like for instance right here at Palm Ridge, we're looking at that. But again, library is 83,000. Why that number is higher than the last number I showed you by about 4,000 or 5,000 is because this includes all the digital check-ins that people are doing online. So that's the overall check-ins. The first one was in-person check-ins. So we want to also consider there's other amenities that are being used that we're not even swiping at. When you use the parks and a lot of different areas that are outside, we're not sliding a card or checking in there. But I just want to indicate that we love our community, and it shows by the way we're using our facilities. I think that's really great. So I think that the next slide will basically indicates a lot of the departments we have. These are all the departments that really roll up and directly answer to the general manager position. We made a few slight changes, but right now I would say that this is exactly what we're doing. But for instance, golf ops and maintenance really covers a couple of entities. We just tried to fit on the slide a little bit better. But we have a lot of different areas with a lot of different professionals that are sitting behind me. They do a really good job. And a number of people have been here for a long time, but they're very experienced. They know this community inside and out, and they're strict professionals in what they do. So I think when you take a look at the total years of experience, I haven't totaled it up because the number's pretty big, but we have people that really know their stuff, and they're able to look into the future and learn from things in the past to how we can progress in this community. So when we take a look at the further strategic planning and the master planning concepts we're looking at, I just want to share this. Everything's like a 3-legged stool here. We've got the board and the committees. We've got the residents, and we've got the staff. All 3 of those entities need to work together so we can actually fulfill some of the things we're looking forward in the future. But I want to just give a shout out to the years of experience that are behind me And I don't want to make them feel really old because they've got a lot of years, but they're really, really good. So I'd like to give a round of applause to everybody here. So how we're going to proceed from this point forward is every department's going to come up, introduce themselves, introduce their department, and give you a few short slides, give you a little bit insight to the back of the house and kind of some of the things we're doing and some of the things that are directly impacting the residents. So without further ado, the next person up, I think, is Kirsten. Is that correct? I will.
Good morning, everyone. I am excited to share with you the vision of the HR, and I also happen to work within the safety group. So we're going to kind of walk you through a life cycle of an employee here at the Rec Centers of Sun City West. And what we'd like to do is take you through, yes, we are hiring. No, really, we are always looking for people that want to join us and be part of a phenomenal group of people. As Ken mentioned, we cover a lot of space, and we'll talk about that in just one moment. So when the life cycle starts, we start with active recruitment. And what that looks like for us is we have a job opening, we reach out, and we have started attending a lot of local job fairs so that we're getting our name out to the public in the surrounding areas. We've attended 7 off-site job fairs in the past 12 years, and we're planting seeds and trying to grow communication with trade schools and other resources, community centers outside that can talk about the jobs that we have available here so that they understand that we are a dynamic, really cool place to work. So when we look at a job, we have a job description, and everybody that's ever worked probably had a job description. Not only does the job description tell us what the skill sets are, but there's another facet and another avenue that we need to look at when we hire folks that come to work for us. So some of those things that we look at are the values. We're looking at their work ethic. We're looking at, do they have a responsibility to be on their shift on time. So we're going through a lot of these different things, and we're talking to them as we're doing our hiring process. So when we look at our labor is, it covers, and no pun intended, we cover a great expanse of ground. As you know, if you've driven around within the walls, we've got 4 divisions. We've got golf, recreation, sports pavilion. We've got 93 different types of jobs, unique positions that support the facilities here. We have over 450 employees, and 60% of our employees are part-time, and we'll talk about just how many of those folks actually come from the community that you live in. Our annual hours right now are just inching up to almost 620,000 hours that we work in support of keeping the facilities as beautiful and staffed as they are. So 2 kind of interesting demographics that we look at is we look at the years of service. We are a service and hospitality industry. So I call out the years of service because you will note that over 3 to over 30 years, we have 11 employees who have been here more than 30 years. And when we look at the national demographics of a service industry, the actual tenure of employment for the service industry is less than 3 years. And you will see that the majority of our employees are greater than 3. And actually the tenure of our employees averages a little over 6 years. So I think that's something to be really mindful of when you're talking to people that work here. They understand their jobs. The age range is also another really unique demographic in the fact that, again, we have from people that are still in high school, and then we have folks that are in their 80s and potentially, I think, late 80s that are working here. So that demographic is really unique in the fact that a lot of our employees that are coming here are working on their second or third careers. And I say careers because you're looking for excitement and jobs and to get out and do new things. So we've got a lot of folks that you can see 56 plus. That's a really unique demographic in a workspace. So the employee retention, oops. Did we, did it go to employee counts, demographics? Oh, employee retention. There we go. Okay, so here's the employee retention, and what we want to call out is this does exclude our seasonal employees, the folks that come in and support various departments just on a seasonal basis. But on the left, we have new hires, and you will see that this, we chose to show you the period of time beginning pre-COVID through the COVID years, and also what's called the Great Resignation, when people were literally leaving their jobs in droves. They were not staying and they were leaving. So you'll see that dip in the new hires, and then we're kind of cycling back up, and we're right at, for this fiscal year, 106 new hires. And the same thing shows for the terminations. You're gonna see that there wasn't a lot of terminations, and then we're cycling up as, you know, as the national norm is that people are leaving their jobs quite quickly. So here's our employee counts. So when we talk about, and again, this excludes our seasonal employees, when we talk about our employee counts, again, we're looking at that starting about 2018, and we're looking at efficiencies. How can we do our jobs? What can we do with more efficiency? And you'll see that back in 2018-19, we had 464 employees, and we're now working with 396. When you think about that, all of the amenities, all of the services, all of the things that we provide for you, our community members, are done with a far vast shorter number of people. So employee retention, what do we do? I spoke to that a little bit at the beginning. We are looking at job fairs, and we offer a referral bonus for current employees. Every year we look at our benefit offerings, and we look at position and the market and do salary surveys. We do that each time that we open up a position. As an example, right now we're getting ready to start our benefit search for January 1 of 2025. So that's a proactive thing. So one of the things that I also thought about is, what do we do? How can we keep our employees happy and healthy? What can you as our community do? And again, speaking to what Ken showed you, the vast number of check-ins and everything else, what we would ask is, we did the Be Kind campaign, and we put that out there, and we said, please stop and think about the employees that you're talking to. They're your neighbors, they're your friends, they're your sons and daughters. Maybe the golden rule is a good thing. How would you like to be treated? If you're having a concern or a question about service, we have member comment forms. They're available at every place that you check in. You can fill those out, but please remember that the people that are providing this service are doing this because they have a love for what they're doing, and they want you to have a really good time when you come to one of our rec centers or our golf courses. So this slide talks about the national turnover rate. So we wanted to, again, show you just nationally what is happening around the world. And at the bottom, you'll see that there are different job groups. If you go all the way to the right, next to government and in between education and health, you'll see leisure and hospitality. And we talked about the turnover rate. And so we want you to see that this is a national turnover rate. And you'll see that on the right is the average, just average turnover rate. But for the hospitality and leisure groups, when we see the 2023 average, we're seeing close to 80% of employees are leaving their jobs in this industry. So when we talk about what does that look like for us, we're going to show you, our next slide, is our turnover rate in comparison. So again, we've not wanting to make sure that we're getting kind of the full picture starting before COVID. Kind of 2020 is the beginning of COVID, and then we kind of had the Great Resignation where people were just leaving. And you'll see that not only are we so far ahead of the national average, but look at our actual turnover rate. It's 24%. Industry, again, is at 80%. So we're doing very, very well with our turnover rate. And our turnover rate is driven by the fact that, again, some of the folks that work for us, second or third careers, they decide, you know what, I wanted to go work at the golf course, and I did, and that was a lot of fun, but now I just really want to retire, and I want to just go off and do the fun things and play the things. I don't really want to work anymore. So the hiring challenges that we are facing are no different than the hiring challenges for anyone else in the country. The same things, we've got a really tight labor market. Our demographic and our work and jobs are very physical and difficult positions to fill because a good portion of our open jobs consistently are outdoors, and there's not a lot of folks that want to work in 110, 119 degree heat. Even though they start super early in the morning, they're still battling that heat all day long. So we also have mandated wage and compression issues that the state mandates and the Department of Labor mandates. And we also understand that inflation impacts employees as well as it does the budget for the association. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to turn this over to Carl Wilhelm. He is stepping in for the facilities team, and he's going to talk about facilities and the capital improvement section.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you. Good morning, folks. This is like always my favorite meeting to come to. Honestly, it's a celebration of what's been accomplished in the year. 12 months of input from, like Ken mentioned, 3 categories of groups: our governing board, you folks, and your involvement in committees, and the work that's got to get performed by staff. I'm Carl Wilhelm. I've been, for our last 7 years, our project manager, and over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, have had the opportunity to also be our facilities operations manager. So it's been a privilege. It's a large team on the facility ops side. It's approximately 140 employees. I've got some fantastic supervisors and facility leads that if you guys utilize these facilities each and every day, you've met them, and they're amazing teams that support cleaning and room setups and stuff like that. So I take my hat off to all of them. And then, you know, the team that I lead for project management is vendors, you know, quite honestly. And then the group that I'm about to cover for here today in my opening remarks is Russ Boston's facilities maintenance team. Russ has become an amazing friend of mine, an amazing colleague. I love working side by side with him. We share an office environment with myself, him, and our team of about 16 or 17 facility maintenance employees. Russ is on leave right now to do some wonderful things with his family in Chicago, and it's an honor for me to be able to share some of the facility maintenance team's achievements for the year. Russ Boston is one of those folks that have been here 32 plus years, and that's something to be said. He's a wealth of knowledge and experience, and he started off in this company just like one of his team members as a facilities maintenance employee. And Russ has worked really hard to grow his career and be a leader and senior manager here, and he does an amazing job. He has an amazing team. Russ's team strives. As you see him in the picture there, there's the team. Russ's team strives to beat the rising costs from hiring outside vendors and doing a lot of our R&R, new ideas, working very closely to me in capital projects each and every year. Some of the examples of what they do are, we do a majority of our HVAC unit replacements for the community in-house. That team has very specialized experiences and knowledge. We have groups of plumbers, we have groups of HVAC professionals, a group of electrical professionals, and then mixed trades knowledge. And it's amazing as a team what they get accomplished each and every year, and the value that that provides the community in being able to save on either myself or themselves hiring vendors on a regular basis is huge. And as a little bit of a comparison off the cuff, you know, our competing communities, without saying any names, they don't operate that way. And their expenses for using vendors is much, much higher than ours. The facilities maintenance team makes a great difference in our community. You'll see some of their accomplishments other than like HVAC and the things I've mentioned so far, but they just recently took our slightly aged, weathered Palm Ridge after it was built in approximately 1985 and performed a brand new paint job. And primarily, two gentlemen did this. Two gentlemen, the tools that we have in our toolbox, man lifts, a little bit of support from the other team, you know, bringing paint, delivering paint, supporting them on hot days. But they painted 100% of this entire campus this year, amongst all of the other maintenance problem sheets of, you know, touching up clubroom spaces while I'm doing a project or somebody else had a need. Again, I take my hat off to the painters because it's a bit of a grueling job at times, and the results are wonderful. Palm Ridge looks amazing right now. Some of the other notables that facilities maintenance accomplishes is not just the fresh coats of paint, but they supported the senior management team in the decision-making after the decision-making was done on our new vendor in the old Memos Cafe, which is now Pete's Cafe. If it wasn't for the facilities maintenance team, the vendor would have had some much higher increased expenses in already a challenging market for a new restaurateur. And facilities maintenance came right alongside this new restaurateur and helped support and take care of the things that are our responsibility, which is truly the interior of that room, provided a new paint job, walked alongside of them through the inspection process, made repairs and adjustments to sinks and faucets, things that had just been used and well used by the prior restaurateur, and it was time for a refresher so that this new vendor is successful. Bird damage, as soon as this building was painted, in fact, I think on every single day that the painters moved a little bit further along, our lovely, wonderful local woodpeckers, you know, like to drill a few new holes, and some of our other buildings, I think they've got just mad enough at Palm Ridge that they moved over to the men's club. So, but, you know, little notables that are fun, but you might not be aware of, and it takes a lot of time to repair. If you were to walk this campus, or if you were to walk the Deer Valley Golf Course buildings, or if you were to now walk the men's club, you will see our local woodpeckers, you know, giving us some grief. R.H. Johnson Boulevard common walls are being repainted from Grand Avenue Meeker. I'm sure you experienced how long and arduous task that has been between Russ's team and the vendor that is partnering in that project. You know, a lot of repairs over time. And it's two-sided. Those walls have two sides. There's the homeowner side, and then there's the community side. Some of the things that go on the homeowner side affect the community side. So a lot of stucco repairs, a lot of cracks that needed to be taken care of, and the team is getting it done, and I think we've got about 50% of the project painted along the R.H. Johnson corridor right now. And then another notable is 2,669 MPS tickets from July 23rd to 2024. That's huge, from small failures in septic fields at golf courses, to toilet clogging, to shower heads, you name it. If it breaks in your house, it breaks here, and we get probably 1,000 times more use than you do at your house. So if it weren't for that team, our expenses would be astronomical, and that, you know, so they're not here, but if you could give them applause, that would be greatly appreciated. I get to brag a little bit now about capital improvement projects. I can say humbly that over the last 7 years of all of the wonderful projects that have been approved by our governing board, and the governing board will tell you this is not an easy process. There's a lot of deliberation, discussion. Not all decisions that are approved are unanimously voted on by our community. But honestly, all the projects that are brought to the table each and every year are for the betterment of your home values, keeping this place looking great, maintaining our parking lots, roofs, buildings, meeting the needs of clubs and how they grow, how they decline and change as needed. And it's all interwoven into the conversations of, our space utilization. So I'm really happy to be able to support that initiative for the last 7 years, and this has been another successful year. Approximately 30 repair and replacement projects have been completed to date. If you saved and tallied all your paperwork from all the committee meetings that you attended, you'll see that there's more or less. I say 30 approximately because some projects are carryover, and we discuss them in this next year's business. Some projects are that popped up after the governing board approval cycle that we have to do through allowances. So this myriad of projects that need to be performed throughout the year have created approximately $437,000 of savings versus the capital budget. So what we budgeted and what they were done for, approximately $437,000 in savings. And then we have projects that are in our operating budget that don't qualify for the 5-year useful life or are $5,000 and less. And those are proposed in our operating budget that a lot of folks don't really see or disseminate. But $13,000 this year was saved for those projected costs for those projects. And overall, 14% average savings this year on our capital budget. And thank you. And that has been the trend, plus or minus a few percent for the last 7 years. And that, again, through the hard work of all of my co-managers, our vendors who, I put them through heck. They get vetted, and I'm constantly negotiating the best for this community. So some of our big accomplishments in 2024 have been, we did 6 asphalt seal and stripe restorations at R.H. Johnson, Kuntz Metal Shop, Deer Valley, and Stardust. And then the 4 big parking lots that got torn out at R.H. Johnson Lot 3 in front of Social Hall, Beardsley Arts and Crafts Lot, Grandview Pro Shop, and Trail Ridge. I'm really proud of these projects. Again, over the last 7 years, since I met the original CFO 7 years ago, there was an initiative about, hey, Carl, we haven't been really tracking our roofs and our asphalt and some other components of our community all that well. And it had a lot to do with our reserve study tool that was implemented at the same time. So we have developed together a program that tracks all of our major assets. And I'm proud to say that we're right on the cusp of all those majors being done within this year that have just been completed or within this next year. And we are ready for another 30-year cycle on those long, useful life projects. That will take us far into the future and probably into somebody else that's managing it for us at that time. So, some of our notable accomplishments are, throughout the year, 30 slides. I don't want to bore everybody. You use this community. You know what's been provided to you as a new area. I hope you enjoy all these new opportunities. But like here, we have the Beardsley Courtyard. A couple of years ago, we put a brand new greenhouse, and the Botanical Garden or the Desert Garden Club partnered with us, and they have made an amazing, beautiful botanical garden back there. We wanted to support them with an opportunity to recreate and hang out and have a social gathering space. That space has been used by every club in Beardsley, and I think it turned out quite beautifully. We had a big task this year on renovating Bocce. I tell you, I didn't build those courts, 30 or 40 years ago. And some of our restorations that we have to perform, they have logistical components in there that it's not easy to overcome, or new modern vendors today don't want to do it that way today. So it's a real challenge to find the right vendor that'll work with how we built it years ago and keep it renovated for the future. Bocce was one of those. Post-COVID timeframes for some of our materials and timelines to get materials is always challenging. It's gotten better, I have to say that. So we're kind of beyond that, but it took a long lead time to get the carpet for this. And in fact, due to weather issues back in the south with hurricanes, shut the manufacturing plant down a couple times. So these things that here we live in our wonderful, beautiful environment, Arizona, the other world has input, whether we're prepared for it or not. And I'm happy to say, though, this turned out really beautiful, and the club has been very supportive. A big key focus for us, I know it's a simple little picture, but it's a handrail. There's a beautiful stainless steel handrail going down the hallways of Beardsley's used to be the Long Green Mile, I think is what it was titled. Now it's the Heartbeat Hallway. So if you walk down there, it's sharp. But our focus is ADA, safety ADA. And this was a multiple member request project. Can we have some help walking that long hallway? Absolutely, folks. We're here to make that reasonable accommodation. We put in a beautiful stainless steel handrail, and at that same time, we also put in 3 additional ADA door openers, automatic door openers for the community that had maybe moved from one part of the community and was using this facility here, and they moved towards Beardsley, and that became their facility. Beardsley was just set up different, but we made that accommodation. Sorry for the pause there. If you're not aware, our fitness equipment, cardio, is on a replacement cycle every 5 years. So you get the opportunity to experience new cardio equipment every 5 years. Ari Johnson was done 2 years ago. This last year in the presentation we're doing now was Beardsley. And again, it's a competitive market. There's a handful of vendors that if you were to go to LA Fitness, or if you were to go to one of the other big 4 or 5 box store gyms, they have one of the components that we provide in one of our gyms. So again, I place them vendors up against each other in a bid situation, and we get the best equipment each and every 5-year rotation for each fitness center. And Beardsley's no different than any place else. It turned out really nice. Those are our new pieces of equipment. And over the next 3 months, you're going to experience that same opportunity here at Palmridge, and I'm looking forward to that. Kind of getting down to my last couple of slides. We had a moisture condition and aged flooring at Deer Valley. This was an unexpected project. So our allowance categories that the governing board approves for unexpected things, we put in new flooring in the Deer Valley Pro Shop. You can see the old versus the new. And there's behind the counter, and all the old glue was shot, and the pieces of old planking were just coming up. So we make better decisions as we move forward, as new products become available. We no longer put a glued-based product in a very wet environment behind the Pro Shop. Now we did restaurant-style tile and supported the Pro Shop that way. And as you well know, we had the beautiful sports pavilion bowling upgrades early in the summer last year. Huge project. The things that we learned from 22 years ago when the last expansion was done in the sports pavilion, when the last set of lanes were replaced, there's not a lot of record keeping from Brunswick, and our record keeping is basic. We have got a project, put it in the accounting records files appropriately. Old project manager has records of a floor being replaced, but when you open up that floor, it doesn't really tell the story. And there were a lot of obstacles we had to overcome. Floor height differences, Old Brunswick management installing one way versus New Brunswick management installing another. And it created us an environment that we had to make some custom changes on the fly. It did extend the project by a couple weeks. And then good choices. Next year, we were going to do the flooring in front of those wooden bowling lanes. And those lanes affected the old flooring, so we moved the projects up and knocked it all out. And you're going to see not only did the bowling lanes get replaced, the ball returns, the flooring, and all the lobbies. You can imagine the pallets and pallets of bowling lane material churning up our old flooring and carpet in the lobby entrances. And really proud to say that the Sports Pavilion is shining like a diamond right now. And look forward to the future on Lizard Acres Pub. So, folks, it's a privilege, like I said before, to work here, support you. I love this community, and I just give you thanks, and I say thank you to the governing board for all the support. And next is Riley in Members Services and CCNR.
Thank you, Carl. My name is James Riley. I'm the Community Properties Manager here in Sun City West. That gives me the opportunity to work with two great groups of people, and that is our membership department and our CCNR department. We have, as Ken had mentioned earlier, the numbers of involvement we have with individuals. And this year we had 31,800 lobby transactions. That's how many people came through the doors at member services. And that isn't including the online services that we provide for payment and things of that nature. So I'm very proud of them. List of some of the things that we do there. Obviously member due payments, but we sell all the golf cards. We take care of member credit and rental tenant cards as well. This is interesting because this is our monthly billing statement that goes out. And one of the trends that we're seeing is people are staying here year round. They're buying homes in the summertime now. We have a lot of renters coming in to see if they can handle the summers that we all endure here, and they're purchasing homes. So we're actually starting to see this level out. So it's quite interesting that the number of sales in March and April and May have trended a little differently this year. One of the things we definitely keep an eye on is the number of residents, and I'm proud to say that we actually have the majority of close to 88% of our residents are full-time residents that are single-family homeowners, if you will. We're not seeing the large number of rentals that other communities are seeing. One of the things that we really have to keep a very close eye on is our demographics when it comes to age. Being a 55-plus community, there's an 80-20 rule, if you will, and we can't exceed that 20%. It could possibly put our 55-plus community in jeopardy. I want to just let everybody know that we're trending very well. We're actually just a little bit under 3% right now. So we're in a very good position as far as a 55-plus community. One of our other departments that we have is our Reds department. A lot of folks don't know about this. What it is it's we actually go out and analyze sales that have happened in the community, whereas they're not your typical transactions that go through a title company, for example. This could be a quick claim deed to someone that sells their house personally. It could be a beneficiary deed where someone inherits a property. It could be an inheritance through a trust. And with those particular transactions, there are things like APF fees and dues, and some of these homes have late fees on them and so forth. And we actually have to go in the county records and search for those individual properties. And I'm proud to say we collected over $760,000 in those transactions, and we actually had to go out and seek that out. So we did a very good job this year, and again, that's an increase from last year of about over $100,000. And I also get to work with the CCNR department. Great group of people. We had 568 official CCNR violations this year. When I say official violations, many times we will get a complaint. We will go out there and there's someone taking care of the yard, taking care of the complaint. The RV is gone now. But it's important that you reach out to us and let us know when you see something. This year we had the perfect storm, if you will, when it came to weeds. And you can see almost 75% of what we were dealing with was landscaping this year. And that's one thing that homeowners can really help us with. Please pull your weeds a little pre-emergent before that season comes around. But because we really use the time for other things that we're dealing with the CCNRs. And violations by stage. I'm proud of this particular slide in that the vast majority of our issues get resolved in stage 1, which is the first 21 days, and then following that, an additional 14 days. And unfortunately, we do have some stage 3, 4, and 5s, but those tend to be HUD-owned homes, bank-owned, or going through a foreclosure, for example. And last but not least, we took over the CCNRs about 6.5 years ago, and I found a little bit of a gap in our CCNRs where it doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover things like feeding wild animals, things of that nature. So what I tried to do was kind of start an initiative to get out and meet the other agencies that handle those problems. And I have to say we've done a very good job at reaching out to them. Adult Protective Services helps out a lot of our individuals here in the community. Arizona Fish and Game, they've helped with the feeding of coyotes and things of that nature. And Maricopa County, I talk to them almost every day when it comes to building codes and things of that nature. And the Sheriff's Department, they've done a lot for us behind the scenes. In fact, I had 2 deputies walk into my office yesterday just to see if we had anything going that we needed to talk about, and I did, and they take care of it. You don't hear much about it, but they're out there doing their job. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, it is me. Hi, thank you. My name is Casey Huda. I run the Recreations Department, which oversees chartered clubs, and then obviously the Events Department. As you can see, I also oversee scheduling, which is the hub of the rec centers here. If you are a part of any chartered club or attend any of our events, you know we're a very busy community all across the board. So I'll start off with chartered clubs. We currently have 91 chartered clubs. In the year of 2023-24, we had 3 clubs dissolve. We also have implemented our new rules, our RMPs, rules, regulations, and procedures. That was done April this year. Thank you to the Charter Club Committee who put in a lot of work, honestly, for the past 2 years on this. And then we also did a reformatting of club track reports. That became quite a task. I do want to thank Tim Peterson and the IT staff for helping with that. For the most part, I think we have a good report going right now. We've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. It's never going to keep everybody happy, but we have a majority, so we're going in the right direction. I also kind of want to talk about the CR6s. CR means club requests, for those of you that do not know. And then the CR6 is their submissions for the next calendar year. So we just had those submitted on May 1st this year, and it's for the 2025 year. And we did a bit of a different way. And I left the opportunity for the clubs to make the decision. So I had them vote if they wanted email only, or if they want to just do it like we have in the past, which is a little bit more chaotic. So the majority of them voted yes to do email only. And we only had 6 that requested no. So I want to thank you for moving us up into the 21st century, for those of you that voted yes. And then so for 2025, we are actually almost there. The scheduling department has worked very hard. We have 2 new gals that have worked here for less than, or with my department, for less than 2 years. There's been a lot of good changes, and I can't say enough about Laura and Donna. But moving on, for when we're getting ready for 2026, we found some challenges for this year, and we're going to have some more changes coming up. Not of the submission, but of how we want to proceed due to space utilization. So we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. And with that, there's a lot of clubs, and I think about a couple months ago, I talked about clubs being stronger, which is great. But with stronger clubs. With stronger clubs, that also means less space. We're limited, scheduling becomes a problem, and it becomes a puzzle almost. So we want to make sure every club has the most fair opportunity when they have their socials more than anything. Every club is required 2 general membership meetings, and then they are given 2 free socials. So that has become a huge challenge with us, and that's what the scheduling department has worked very hard with. I am happy to kind of share with you the changes that we have made, and I apologize in the black print, but for the special events and socials, that only increased by 2. So for the 2024, our current year right now, we have 156 chartered club socials. This does not include event socials. This does not include the community renting the facilities. And then for the general membership meetings, this is huge. It opened up a lot of opportunities for the clubs. It decreased by 50. All right, so I just want to say thank you to Laura. I know she's here. And Donna, if you guys could please give a round of applause to them. So by doing that, that opens up more opportunity for the chartered clubs in the community to have more space and availability. So I really wanted to kind of hit that pretty hard, and so you guys understand the changes that we've made. There's more changes underway coming, and I do my best to communicate with the chartered clubs based on that. The other thing I'm going to talk about real quick, it's not listed on here. We do have bus tours that we provide, and we have some new ones, and it's kind of crazy. In the last couple of days, we have sold 10 to our Las Vegas, 5 to our Balloon, and we have a Northern Arizona one that's coming up, and we've sold 10 to that just in the last couple of days. So apparently there's a lot of interest coming through that, and I would have had a slide, but those were not even presented at that time. So it's very exciting. But as for our events department, we are looking forward to the 24-25 season. This year was a little slower than usual. I think there were a few factors involved, but we're going to move forward and worry about what we can do to make a difference and change. So if you've received the rec news, you'll see that there's a new event called the Bash coming. And the Bash is going to be August 27th. It's going to be located here. It's going to be a little bit more of a laid back, music in the background. She's going to have cornhole. She has this axe throwing thing, live entertainment. It's, you know, it's very laid back and fun, and you can stay cool as well. She also has her food truck event that's going to happen in April 1st next year, but she's also going to be bringing in more food truck opportunities. You have Munchie Mondays. So the first one is going to be November 18th, and that's just going to be something where there's food trucks, live entertainment, and just some more camaraderie for the community to be a part of. Then the Top Hat series, for those of you that have been to these in the past, we've always had a matinee and a 7. The matinee is really not very successful, so we're doing one show at 5 o'clock. So there's a little bit of a change there. And we're seeing more people wanting the cabaret styles, wanting a little bit more engagement with one another. So our demographic is changing. We still do have our free events. We have our Pops concerts, which is still very traditional, big band type. We have the movies in the park, music on the green, spotlight. But we also are going to bring back a dive-in movie and then a drive-in movie. We tried the drive-in movie during COVID, and I thought it was pretty nostalgic for a lot of folks. So we're going to do one of those in October and see how that goes. So I'm really excited. And she's also bringing a game show feud. So look for that. She's going to have those twice a year. You'll get an opportunity to participate in that. And I'm really looking forward to next year and what Sunny is bringing to the table. So thank you.
Casey, before you step away, I just want to ask a question. Axe throwing?
Not real axes.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick O'Hara. I'm your golf operations manager. By a show of hands, can I get a indicator of who played golf this last year? Okay. So just a couple footnotes here. 25% of our residents play golf. So 75, 76, 7,700 residents play golf. And this first slide, make it work. Oh, here we go. Oh, there we go. This first slide is an indicator of number of rounds played here this last year, with the exception of June. We're still in the middle of June, so the final numbers aren't in, but we budgeted 315,000 rounds this year. We've on the track to do around 325,000. So our golf courses are very busy. I represent 148 employees. Out of the 148, 138 are part-time, 10 are full-time. So we stay very busy with full-time employees. Most of them, as said earlier, are your friends, neighbors, or there might even be some here in the room that work in the golf operations department. Got a great staff. They do wonderful things, and they really love this community. So I got to get my hat off to them. The slide on the top is monthly rounds that are played. As you can imagine, January, February, March, and April are always busy. And the slide on the bottom is per golf course. So this year, our busiest golf course is Deer Valley. Least busy right now is Grandview, but if you recall, Todd Patty and his staff did a major renovation, and they were closed for about 100 days or so, maybe a little longer. So they didn't get as many rounds. So this changes yearly, but Deer Valley tends to be one of the busier golf courses. Wanted to share this with everybody. This last year, for those that played golf, we went through this trial and tribulation. We changed out all of our range ball machines. Our range ball machines were going on 15 years of age, couldn't get replacement parts. So one of the challenges that we have, well, there's two challenges actually. We're open 365 days a year, and these machines work every single day. And so when they go down, it's very noticeable. So we changed out our machines, brought in some new technology, which has been wonderful. In the past, for those of you that have played or hit balls, we had a key situation where you bought a key. The problem with the key was you prepaid, which was great, but if you lost your key, you were out of luck. We had to treat it like cash. One of the great improvements here is if you lose your card, I know whose card it is, I can replace it, I can shut the lost card off, and everybody goes on their merry way. So this has been a very, very good improvement for us in golf ops, and Brian in my office has exchanged 3,500 keys for golf cards. So that's how active our range stays. I had a stat, we hit over 5.5 million range balls on our practice facilities a year. A program that we've kind of revamped, some of you might have heard of the Green Team. We call it Green Team 2.0. And Jerry and Kathy Stevens, who managed this for us, did a wonderful job for us over the last 6 years. But they decided that they needed to take a well-deserved vacation. So we've hired a new monitor for this program, and we're excited to have her come on board. Our program for the Green Team, for those not familiar, is how do we reintroduce golf into the community to golfers that are either never played before or are reacquainting themselves with golf because they had to raise a family, had a career, and now they've got some time to play. So this program is really interesting in the fact that in the past, we would ask you to go out and learn this game, very difficult game, give you a set of clubs that seem to be ill-fitted for the task at hand, and you'd go out and try and hit a driver or a 3-wood, and it just wasn't working. And so we give you the toughest club to hit, try to teach you to hit that first, and we get the putting and the chipping left behind. So with this program, we start on the green. Everybody learns how to putt. And we have checkpoints. So if you could go over to Stardust in the winter months, right now we're doing it over at Echo Mesa, but if you could play 9 holes and shoot 36 or less on 9 holes, you advance to the 25-yard marker. And then you play at the 25-yard marker, and if you can shoot 36 holes, or excuse me, 9 holes and 36 strokes or less, Now you graduate to the 50-yard marker. So now you're seeing the end result. People get a putt for birdie, people get a chip, they see the importance of the short game. We do that through the 100-yard checkpoint, the 150-yard, and then you can go to the normal tees and start playing golf. And along with this, we have seminars, we call them Green Team 101, how to handle yourself, how to check in a pro shop, etiquette. There's a lot of nuances, and it can be very overwhelming for those learning to play golf. So we're trying to break this down, and I wanted to share some success. Since January, we've had 192 people go through this program. And you can see where they are in their checkpoints. We've had 170 go through the 25-yard, 149 successfully go through the 50-yard checkpoint, 102 go through the 100-yard, 30 have passed through the 150-yard tees, and they're playing from the regular tee markers now. So this is how we're trying to grow the game in the community, and it's been very, very well received. So thanks for everybody's support with this. And then one of the last slides I have, this is a Carl Wilhelm project that is kind of in the middle of it. We're not quite finished, but I wanted to share it because it affects one of our pro shop, Desert Trails. We're in the process of converting this desert landscape, which is out in front of the clubhouse, between the front door and the chipping green. It's now being converted into pavers, and right now we're waiting on some fabric to cover it, and this will be an extended seating area for the Desert Trails Pro Shop. So we're excited to have that as well. So on behalf of Golf Operations, thank you for your support of golf and the community. What you've got here is a beautiful community, and we're happy to be part of it. So thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Good morning. My name is Todd Patty. I'm the manager of the Environmental Services Department, which is the care and maintenance of the 7 golf courses, the landscaping around the community, the rec centers, the softball field, lawn bowl courts, walking tracks, the Beardsley Park. Manage that as well. We have a great staff that does all that work. I always say I'm the one that's out there just directing traffic, and they're the ones that's actually doing the work. Our staff levels are a little bit down right now, so it's a little difficult to get some of the work done, but the guys always manage to do that, and especially this time of the year with it being so hot, 115 degrees, those guys are out there doing the job and getting the work done, so my hat's off to them for all the work that they do. We've got a great crew. So today I just want to update you on some things that's some of the happenings in golf maintenance and the Environmental Service Division over the past year. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the Arizona Office of Tourism Grant Projects program that they introduced. And to give you a little background on that, in November of 2021, the Arizona Office of Tourism introduced a water conservation grant program for golf courses. For the funding of golf course water conservation projects. And then in January of 2022, our department submitted all the paperwork and all the documents to the Office of Tourism for the approval of this. And then in March 2022, the recreation centers received a check in the amount of $420,000, $105,000 per golf course, and that was for Grandview, Echo Mesa, Stardust, and Pebblebrook, our 4 wall-to-wall golf courses. And so just a little bit of a breakout of the $420,000. We used $105,000, the full amount, over at Grandview during the project, the renovation and new irrigation project for a new pump station, new irrigation heads for Echo Mesa in the upcoming project, shoreline repair, hardscape treatment over there at Stardust on hole number 13, desert landscape or turf reduction at Stardust out there in front on 128th there, or 128th on Pebblebrook and Stardust Boulevard out in front of the pro shop there. And then turf reduction over at Pebblebrook on Parkwood and also across from the pro shop behind 18 Green and number 10 T. And just some pictures of the projects that the shoreline project repair. We put the riprap application over there on number 13. There's the new pump station there in the center at Grandview during the project, and just a sampling of the turf reduction over on Parkwood at Pebblebrook. And then the Echo Mesa irrigation turf reduction irrigation project, which was approved by the board last month. And we're looking at starting that on April 7th of next year. And just a quick update on that. This is phase one. Everything's been completed on phase one, with the exception of the field staking of the perimeters and turf lines, which is scheduled for next month, and then I'll probably go into August to complete that. I'd like to say that we're at this point, we're looking at being under budget on that phase one. We had a little over $200,000 budgeted. It looks like we're going to be about $30,000 under budget when it's all said and done. And then just a cost review, we did put this project out to bid, out to Heritage, Landscapes Unlimited, and Wadsworth, and you can see that Wadsworth was the low bid, just over $5 million. And then if you look at how that breaks out with the design team, the new pump station, all the connections for the system, about $5.5 million that we have in this project. And then project timeline, not much has changed on this. Just some things I want to note, that we have a public forum scheduled for December over at the lecture hall at Johnson, and that the residents can come in, they can ask questions, they can see what's going to be done in the project. If they live on the golf course or they play the golf course, they can see all the areas that we're going to be removing turf and some of the plant material that we're going to be putting in. And then in February of 2025, we're looking at a second public forum, again over at the lecture hall. Project start date, as I mentioned, would be Monday, April 7th, starting on the back nine where the pump station is located. And then the entire golf course would be closed at that time. If you remember, over at Grandview, we closed 1-9 and we had the front nine open. We went over to the back nine. We're gonna just close the entire golf course this time. And then the project completion date is scheduled for Thursday, August 29th. We go into our fall overseeding at the end of September, and then the golf course reopens on Tuesday, October 21st. And then just a reminder, the desert landscape plans are available at the Pro Shop at Echo Mesa for your review. You can look at those. It goes hole by hole. It's very detailed as far as where the turf is going to be removed. So if you know that you live on a certain hole, you can say I'm 3 houses in on number 6, and you can see where the grass is going to be coming out. Now we will have some vegetation plans that are going to be coming out shortly, and then you can review that and you can see what type of plants and trees that we're going to be installing over there with the project. And then here's a 5-year water conservation plan I put together, of course, at Echo Mesa, the irrigation and turf reduction, and then Trail Ridge, we have some shoreline hardscape. Echo Mesa, the main project, and then we go over to Deer Valley. We're going to do some shoreline over there, Desert Trails and Stardust in 2026. In 2027, we have some more shoreline that we'd like to do, and then Stardust irrigation project, and then we go over to Pebblebrook and we do the turf reduction phase 1 over there. In 2029, we do the actual project. So going out a little bit further than that, we have Trail Ridge, Deer Valley, and Desert Trails. Those don't require any turf reduction, but we do need to change out those irrigation systems. So that would start in the year 2030, 31, and 32 to do those projects. And then water usage from last year, you can see we entered the 4th management plan, which was a reduction in allotments for the golf courses. And when I talk about the water numbers, that's all 7 golf courses combined. So you can see that in 2023, we were 61 acre feet under our allotment, which is really good because that was under a new allotment reduction. And plus we had the driest monsoon on record last year. So I think that's really good that we were able to stay under our conservation allotment through ADWR. And I think some of you have seen this. I really like showing this, but 15-year water usage. And you can see, starting in 2013, for the last 11 years, we have actually managed to stay under our conservation allotment. So I think that's really good. I've attached rainfall amounts to this as well. There's some years that we just didn't really have a lot of rainfall, but we managed to stay under our allotment. And I think this tells the story that with all the money and effort and time that we put into our conservation projects, this shows that they are paying off. We are able to save water and stay under our allotments. Plus the management that we have on our irrigation systems, we train our employees in the importance of conserving and saving water. So again, I think this really tells the story about all of our efforts to conserve water. And so how are we doing this year? Year to date, we're about 11 acre feet. So far, we've used 11 acre feet more than we did this time last year, which really isn't too bad. It's about 1.5 acre feet per golf course. So hopefully we'll have a better monsoon this year and we'll pick up some rain. They're talking about some rain coming in this weekend. We'll just have to wait and see if that happens. But I think we're going to be in good shape when it's all said and done. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Katie O'Grady. She'll talk about the IT department. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. You're still with us, I appreciate it. I know we're going into the hour mark. These are the highlights, right? These are the highlights of the last 365 days a year. And I've got my own highlights in my divisions here I'm going to talk about. But for just a minute, I want to talk about the behind the scenes, boring stuff that you're not going to see today. Because I think that gets forgotten a lot. And it's a huge impact on just staff, the budget, and everything that happens here in Sun City West. So when most of you came in today, you probably grabbed a packet, looked for a good chair, sat down, talked to your neighbor, waited for the meeting to start, right? The room's set up. But next time you come into a room like this, I challenge you to stop and think, someone cleaned the floor. At some point, someone actually had to refinish and gloss the floor. The tables were set up, the curtains put on it. Somebody had to pack up all these microphones and video cameras from the lecture hall, get them up here, test them, make sure it worked, connect it to the laptop. We even networked the thermostat so that if the room temperature gets too hot, we can text facility maintenance and they can drop the temperature, let alone the copies and everything to get it ready for you. So again, I just challenge you to come into a meeting next time and not wait for the content to start, but take a look at everything you truly have here in Sun City West, because all of that goes into what your annual dues are each year. So why do I bring that up? Well, I'm in charge of public relations, and that's part of what I do, and it's also part of Torch. So if anything you've seen here today interests you, and you'd like to know more, or you'd like some behind-the-scenes tours, think about signing up for Torch. It is fabulous. It's 7 weeks, and you will learn a lot more than you are here today. I'm going to jump right into the IT portion of my presentation. So we've got 5 people on the IT staff, and we support a 365-day operation across multiple campuses and multiple installations of those campuses. Whether it's bowling software or library software, facility software, it's all very different. Different printers, different needs, different end users. And so all of those 5 techs and the network guy are all generalists because they have to be. I don't have enough people to specialize in library software or specialize in the bowling software. So they are cross-trained on everything. You could tell in the last almost 365 days, they've dealt with over 1,900 tickets. Now divide that by 5 techs. That is a lot of tickets. Not every ticket is logged in the system if it's a quick fix. But it helps us track where our energies and time is going, and is there something we can fix over here to prevent us from having a ticket on it in the future. A lot of that is training. Some of it is networking and new computers. This is one example. We spent a lot of time troubleshooting emails that weren't going through to the golfers. They were frustrated, we were frustrated. We finally took that task in-house from the vendor and started sending those emails through our own system so we had better insight into it. And I bring this up because I presented it at the mid-year meeting, and we had just migrated the lottery tee times over. We're excited. We had a 99.99% delivery rate. Since then, we've also migrated the regular tee times over. Again, the delivery rate is strong, not getting marked as spam. It's been really successful, and it's dropped the number of tickets we're dealing with down. So we do try to do that, make improvements to make our own lives easier and make your lives easier. One other thing to note about this is if we aren't careful with our emails, that affects our domain, right? What's our domain? suncitywest.com. We didn't always have suncitywest.com. Pulte had it. Previously, Del Webb had it. So we had to wait, get that over, and now we protect it very closely because it is tied to our trademark. It's our name, it's our reputation. If we start spamming people, if we keep emailing to bad addresses, it affects that reputation and hurts our reputation. So all of that is tied together. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys have been here for a long time. Happy to answer any questions you might have, but in general, we deal with this software, we deal with hardware, and we deal with network. Those are kind of the three broad categories we cover in the IT world. But one of the things I wanted to talk about in particular, back on hardware, is the, coming soon, the phone upgrade. So we planned in the last fiscal year to upgrade this phone system because the technology that it runs on is kind of end-of-lifing. It's a huge project when you think of all the phones we have in the system. We also have multiple digital lines that don't exist in the real world, but we use them here. So we are migrating all of that to the cloud. We had 3, I think, different options when we presented it to the board and they approved the funding for it. Since then, we got a notification from the hardware producer that they are end-of-lifing their on-premises phones. So this second half that we were going to postpone and do a little bit later is going to get fast-tracked and done with it. But what that means is we are checking all of our switches, all of our hardware, make sure we have the right type of switches, because these new VoIP phones have to be close to power. They don't work the same way as the existing phones. So it's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that, again, you're not going to see. That we're going to make this migration. It's a dollar amount in the budget. Doesn't really affect you guys. It affects staff, but it's just one of those behind-the-scenes things I like to point out that you may not notice. And then on support and training, like I said, we've done, and kudos to George on my team. He has put together training packages and gone out and individually trained all our new facility leads and managers, because we have had some turnover, and made sure they understood how they can help themselves, right? Train the trainer, then they can train their people. That has significantly cut down on the number of tickets we get, especially on weekends and holidays. So it takes time up front to train these folks and how to help themselves, but it paid off hugely in that regard. One other behind-the-scenes things, the recall election, the regular election, obviously it affects everyone here on the board, but on the IT side, it's handling people's registrations with the emails, it's putting out the publicity, it's changing those auto email responders. So having one election, you know, we manage it, throw another unexpected one on there, a lot more workload. These things are constantly changing, constantly affecting it, and our staff, again, is very limited. In addition to the 5 IT people, we've got 2 people on the PR staff. So that's a lot of work when you throw in one more task like that. I'm going to jump right into public relations and torch. These are the visible front of the house things that you're used to seeing that probably sound a little more exciting. So play signage. In the past, every department kind of managed their TVs, put their little slides on a flash drive and put them out there, and you know, just very laborious and not a lot of consistency from department to department. So we have a new master program where we can manage all the screens throughout the association. We can push out master slides to everybody. Let's say there is an election. We're going to push that out to everyone, but they maintain local control of their screens. So the Palm Ridge ones are going to be different than the sports pavilion. So, and that's important to make sure we're following trademark and the use of the logo and make sure it's consistent and representing the association well. So that's a nice visible one. Another one you're going to see here is the Rec Center News design. The Independent, who I know you're all familiar with, is changing the dimensions of theirs. They're doing that because ultimately it's probably going to go through the mail, and the U.S. Postal Service has certain dimension requirements. So we have to shrink as well because, as you know, we are inserted within the Independent. So the blue line is the old dimensions. You're used to seeing that. It is drastically going to change, which affects the layout. We're going to, at the same time, look at the fonts, look at the headers, and just, you know, redesign the whole thing. So that, again, is a big one. You could expect that to come out in August 2024. Part of that is we're going to really crack down on the space limitations for the charter clubs. So if you're with a charter club or the PR person, let's try to stick to that 200-word limit so that we can make sure we fit these new dimensions. All right, also on the PR front, hopefully you've seen the videos from the GM. He is a huge proponent of communications and getting the word out, transparency, and letting you know what's going on. So we've been doing every other week so far, little videos, just little topics as they come up. We're going to continue those. He's also doing the radio show to keep you informed. One of the ideas you can look forward to coming up is we're going to actually film our staff at our Monday meetings. You know, you hear from all these talented people, and one of the funny things I love in these meetings every year is I hear, well, we're the hub of the community. Well, we're the hub of the community. Every department thinks they're the hub of this community, but that shows you the ownership they have, and it's fabulous. And we're going to bring you behind the scenes and give you a little insight to that in the next GM video, so you can keep an eye out for that. Also, golf course flyovers. So Martin, who likes to hide in the shadows back there, he got his drone pilot license and has been doing more drone videos for us. Imagine that, having your own drone pilot in-house to be able to do these things. So he has done hole-by-hole flyovers of the golf courses as he has time. It's not 100% complete yet, but several of the courses are up there. So go to suncitywest.com and go to golf, and you can check out hole-by-hole shots of the golf courses. Capital projects update. You heard from Carl. He has a huge list every year of projects he manages. Some are up in front and impact you. Some are behind the scenes and don't. But they're big dollars, and we like to let you know what's happening with them. So we update this page every year when he gets his schedules finalized. So you know when the Palm Ridge pool might be closing or when this parking lot, you know, you're going to have to park somewhere else. So check out suncitywest.com/capital projects for the latest and greatest. And as we get progress pictures or final pictures of the completed project, we'll post those there as well. So even if it's not the rec center you use, you can see where your dollars are going. Torch, we talked about that, and you're going to hear a little bit about it in the next meeting as well. But Torch is just fantastic. There's not a single person that I know of in the 15 years I think we've been doing that is left going, this is a waste. Everyone who's graduated that class said, I learned something. Even people that have been here 25 years. You don't know what you don't know, right? And I guarantee you're going to learn something new in that class. And you're going to see things that the average resident doesn't see. You're going to get to go behind the bowling lanes and see those pin setters in action. You're going to be able to go down to facilities maintenance and see how they change the temperature up here from way down there and how they run the chlorine through those pools. So sign up for Torch. The fall class is coming up. It's probably halfway full. The last few classes have sold out, so don't hesitate if you are interested in that. And that's suncitywest.com/torch. Everything's on the website. All right, so Ari's Johnson Library, we've got Tracy Skousen here. She's the director of the library, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening over there. The biggest thing in the last year was the software changeover. So we used to have on-premise software called Follett. It was kind of built for schools. It was cumbersome and limited. And so the gals, Caitlin and Tracy, have been looking at several different pieces of software. They finally made that leap last year into this new cataloging system. It's in the cloud. It's fabulous. It's so much easier, user-friendly, allows us to do text alerts. Again, those got moved over to that same program where we do the golf alerts. So now when your hold's up, you can get a text that say, hey, your book's in or your DVD is in. Interestingly, when we took it off premises and didn't need that server anymore because now it's in the cloud, we took that server, cleaned it up, and made it the mirror to our major TEI server. And I skipped past that slide really quick, but our main software is called TEI. It affects the facilities, it affects golf, it affects membership, and it's got a huge, robust server behind it, and it's got a mirrored server. So if that one crashes, we've got a backup live, because even though we wouldn't lose any data, the computers wouldn't be working because they'd have no one back home to talk to. So we have a live mirrored server that's talking all the time. Rather than take that Follett server and throw it in the trash, it was newer, cleaned it up, made it the new mirror. So we're always trying to take advantage of that technology or that hardware and get the longest lifespan out of it, and always have redundancies and backups on any of our computer systems. Also at the library, the events that they have going on over there. This is probably one of my most favorite aspects. If you have not been to the library because you don't need books or you read them on your Kindle, there's so much more happening over there. You can, adult coloring books they bring out, and it's a huge growing group of ladies and men that sit there and color, and it's not about the coloring, it's about the camaraderie. If you're not active enough to play pickleball perhaps, or you just need a day out, or maybe you're a caregiver, but your partner is mobile, you sit at the table, you color together. It's a great way to just be out. We all need that social interaction. Same way with the arts and crafts. She's partnered with a lot of the chartered clubs. They made little gnomes. That one is selling out. She's had to keep rescheduling that. So it's not a book, it's not a library thing, but the libraries of the future are about community. And they are doing more and more of that down there at the library. So I highly encourage you to check it out. They also have a new VR machine. So if you use the old one, the headset was wired, it was heavy. They've got a lighter one, the new MetaQuest, and the titles are fun. You can go tour different countries and see wild animals of Africa through a 3D virtual headset. So again, libraries of today are not the libraries we grew up with. And also coming soon with the library. So in IT, some things move very fast, but some things move very slow. And I'm going to give a shout out to Greg Bond, who's our network guy. He has told me since the day I took over IT 15 years ago, you can't keep adding branches to this network without building the trunk. And the trunk is our major infrastructure. And we converted to this thing called SD-WAN, right? It's a software-defined wide area network. Why is that important? Because it took the hub of our system, put it into the cloud, which means we can do a lot more with it, including this phone system I talked about, but also the network for the Cybrarian software that's in the Data Resource Center. We can also use that in the Info Center at the library. Well, what does that mean to you? When you go up and you're using the legacy.com or the investment things, you can swipe your card, sign in, and if you need to print from there, you'll be able to print remotely through there, pay the gal in the Info Center for those copies, or if that computer or printer isn't available, you can also print to the DRC ones. In addition, and this is the cool part, you can start printing from your phone. So that is coming soon. It's not quite there, but if you're in the library, you just need some copies, you don't want to log in on the computer, pull it up on your phone, you can use our air printing system and pay at either of those locations. So that's coming very soon. And if you don't know any of this that I'm talking about, you have no idea because you hate computers, go into the DRC and sign up for a free 1-hour lesson. Imagine that, free computer classes in your library. That's what they're doing now down there today. So those are coming soon. We're excited about that. And then we're going to turn it over to the other hub of our community, Cliff Swan, who pays for all this stuff.
Thank you, Katie. I was going to mention that we are the true hub of the community, but I'm glad you recognized that already. Anyway, so it's good to see all of you here. It's 2024, fiscal year 2024 has been a great year. I'm going to show you the financial results of that because everything really, at the end of the day, filters through the finance and accounting team. And we're going to be proud to present the numbers to you here today and just show you what phenomenal shape we're in. But the finance team, we have an 8-person staff in our finance team, and there's a lot of transactions that happen at our various areas, and there's a myriad of things that we do here that in a lot of businesses don't really happen. You usually have a couple different revenue streams, but they're really tied in with what one specific thing that you do as a company. Well, as a recreation center, there's so many different things that we do here. And there's a lot of things that we have to tie together, not just through different software packages, but also how do we get that information into the general ledger? And there's over 1 million transactions that happen here on a yearly basis that touch our general ledger, okay? So it takes a big staff to make sure that we can reconcile all those to our bank and to our financial statements to make sure that we're doing the right thing for this community and the right reporting. And I got to tell you, we are very busy. We're very happy. We love supporting this community. It's a great place to work, and we just love being here. But again, there's a lot of things that happen in this community that touch our general ledger. So one of the accomplishments that we had this year, in addition to just our regular day-to-day, was through Pete Finelli, our reserve analyst and investment analyst, we were able to generate anticipated $293,000 by the end of the year in investment income from our operating cash. So this isn't our reserve funds. This is the actual cash that we use in a separate bank account to operate the business. And taking that cash and investing that in short-term securities and treasuries, and we've been able to generate $293,000 this year in income from that operating cash. One of the other major accomplishments we have is all the budget engagement. We passed a budget this year, this May, and it was through a lot of hard work, not just from the staff and the management team, but the engagement from the community. And our community is rich with resources of people who have been in business, they've owned their own businesses, CFOs, just any kind of experience that you can think of. It lies in our community, and we get this great engagement from the community to help us craft the budget. And we do that through all these different various public meetings, but that does take time and resources, but it's all part of the process. So we love that engagement, and we certainly look at that as an accomplishment. So now into the numbers. So if you look at our financial summary for the year, and these are projected numbers, so these are through April and then projected May and June. We're in the process of closing May now. But essentially, we're going to return $1.4 million from operations into our reserve fund, which is very significant. We budgeted $1 million. We're going to end up about $1.4 million, about 30% more than what we anticipated in this budget, and that's due to the increase in budget over in golf rounds and some expense savings that we had this year. But that's quite an accomplishment, and you know, the reserve fund allocation from operations is a very important component of our reserve fund. We can't just fund our capital spend with our APFs. APFs come and go. The housing market dictates you know, what happens with our APF. So we don't have any control over that. However, our membership, we know that when we have members here, they're paying to be members and they're utilizing the facilities, and we know that's pretty much guaranteed revenue for us. And this is a very significant component of our reserve fund. So quite an accomplishment this year to be able to put $1.4 million into our reserve fund from operations. Clicker's dying. There we go. So, you know, so what are we funding? Okay, we're funding the operations or the staff and the resources that it takes to operate all the different facilities that I talked about earlier, as well as funding the operations of the facility. We're also funding the repair and replacement or the capital improvement budget for all the projects that Carl talked about early and Katie talked about and Todd talked about as well. So, you know, we have to have a fund to do that. Well, this year we budgeted roughly $5.9 million in capital improvements and repair and replacement and a couple of new projects. And I'm happy to report that Carl talked a little bit earlier about the savings he had, but there's other areas in Todd's world and Pat's world and Katie's world where we experienced savings as well. And we're going to have about a 10% savings on that to the tune of $607,000 in capital improvement savings this year. And the good thing about that is the reserve fund pays for capital improvements. Well, if we don't spend that money, it stays in the reserve fund, which is a good thing. So we had $600,000 stay into the reserve fund that we had anticipated spending. So another component, I talked about it earlier, is APF fees. So APF fees have a significant impact, dollar for dollar, into our reserve fund, because APF fees don't pay for operations. They go directly into our reserve fund. So in addition to the $1.4 million from operations, we also added approximately $5.7 million in APF fees into our reserve fund, which is pretty significant, and it's about almost $600,000 over what we budgeted, 12% over. So, we're excited about that. We budget 1,100 for fiscal year 25, so we'll just have to see what happens with that. But again, very proud of the fact that 5.7 million went into our reserve fund from APFs. Okay, so the other thing that impacts our reserve fund, and it impacts the reserve fund directly in the fund, is what happens with that fund. What's the performance on that? So this year, I'm happy to report that we had over $1 million in investment income and dividends in our reserve fund, okay? We realized $233,000 in losses, okay? And then we have unrealized gains of $641,000. So total performance for the reserve fund this year is a positive $1.4 million. Okay, so we take all those inputs that I talked about earlier, and we have a beginning balance in our reserve fund. We added to it $1.4 million from operations. We added $5.7 million in APF revenue. We had $1.4 million positive performance within the reserve fund. And we also added some contributed capital, which are those Arizona Office of Tourism grants that Todd talked about earlier. Those go down in the capital section of the income statement. Those also bolstered our reserve fund. We spent $5.3 million in capital, and we ended the year at we'll end the year at $30 million in our reserve fund when we started the year at $27 million after paying for $5.3 million in capital improvements. Pretty incredible. So a very good year. And so because of that dollar amount fluctuates based on the types of capital improvements that we have each year. For example, next year we'll have 9.4 million, 10 million or so when you include all the capital improvements that we're going to spend. So our reserve fund's going to drop. So how do we know if that balance is healthy? We compare that against our fully funded balance. And policy says that we have to be from 40 to 100% in our fully funded balance. Our fully funded balance percentage. And we'll finish the year at 51%. So very healthy. Understand too that $30 million not only covers the repair and replacement of the existing things that we have here, it also allows us to go out and do enhancements in new capital projects that aren't in the reserve fund. So very, very successful year in the reserve fund. I'm very happy to report that. Okay, so I talked about the budget earlier, and this year our dues effective July 1st in fiscal year 2025 will be $570. And I put this slide up there because I want to show you what that gets you compared to what it gets you at other communities. And I'm happy to say that, I'm really excited where we are in our dues process and what you get for your dues. You get a tremendous value for your dues that you wouldn't necessarily get at all these other communities. And really proud of that. Again, really proud to work here, love working here, love supporting you all, and I love the support that we get from you, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'm going to be very brief. So I'm Lisa Vines, your governing board president, and I want to thank you, Ken, and staff for that insightful review of the past year's collective achievements by Recreation Center staff, senior operations staff, and our frontline employees who are so often overlooked. The governing board is appreciative of everyone's immense contributions to the recreation centers, especially in a year that has ended in some turmoil and upheaval. So many changes in such a short time. 2 board presidents, the exit of our longtime sports pavilion manager, and a departed general manager, a new interim general manager, and some unknowns coming with a new board president. namely me, and a new general manager at the helm of operations in just the last few months. But changes bring good things. So let's take a look back and share a glimpse into the board's perspectives and actions over this past fiscal year, because I'm very happy to reflect on so many successful operations, plans, and actions, many of which you just heard about, that the board wholly approved of. I won't do another deep dive into operations. What I want to do is review a very few important points about exactly what it is that the Sun City West Governing Board does. The board does not run the recreation centers. Rather, the general manager and his operations staff are responsible for that. They manage and maintain all of our amenities on a day-to-day basis. Our clubs, our golf courses, our libraries, the annual budget, and most importantly, the facilities, buildings, and common areas that house all of our amenities. Surprisingly, many residents still believe that the board handles these responsibilities, which is completely incorrect. The board very simply has vital oversight and policy-making roles, and board directors are volunteers. No director is and ever has been paid. GM Olson has reviewed the past year's achievements of operations staff in his general manager's year-end report. Our operations staff works hard to manage our recreation centers, so they are the ones who are paid to perform this work. With policy oversight in mind, in the last year, recreation center policies were revamped or added as necessary, and a bylaw was altered to update the reasons for our general manager operations meetings. These types of revision exercises are the responsibility of the board every year. This past year, 2 policy treatments, among many, stood out. Revision 2 and reclassification of a new membership policy known as MO3 regarding clarification of recreation center cardholder guests and guest fees. My water, please. Can you bring me my water, please? The board tried to clear up some confusion about exactly what, thank you, a cardholder guest is and how we set fees for the use of facilities by our guests. The board enacted the policy MO3 revisions to elevate our cardholder guests over outsiders. Changes were also made to committee policy CO3 on committee member service, revisions that will be adopted, we hope, in our board meeting later this morning. This particular policy revision will increase the opportunity for our resident cardholders to join governing board committees to inject that critical new blood to the way we think and do things on the governing board. A foremost board priority has always been to involve our resident cardholders by making participation in recreation center governance possible for those interested. In fact, next year's new committee chairs will be announced later in today's board meeting, and they are already busy at work evaluating the online committee applications that we have received. Later this morning, you'll be hearing updates from this past year's board committee chairs as they deliver their end-of-year committee reports. Hopefully, I'm not going to steal their thunder, but I've already shared that the Charter Club Committee spent an exhaustive amount of time reviewing and optimizing the Charter Club rules, regulation, and procedures. You know them as the RMPs, which help make the Charter Club rules more systematic and fair-minded across all clubs. The board adopted the RRMP revisions and also cemented their review as a mandatory annual activity. In all its spare time, a Charter Club Committee working group also compiled an impressive first step plan for enhanced recreation center space utilization, something I'll touch on again shortly as a part of the board's future strategic view for our community. We all know that room space at our facilities is extremely limited and in dire need of fair distribution across clubs, events, meetings, and other activities. Again, we want all residents to be able to follow their interests, so the board is planning to implement a strategic plan or roadmap to guide RCSCW into the future on many levels. Stay tuned on this important effort as it is rolled out in the next year. All board committees were equally active in their own regard, whether we point to BNF's review of credit card fees, minimum wage strategy development, or surgical budget reviews. The thorough attention paid by the Properties Committee to the facility projects and maintenance needs like R.H. Johnson Tennis Court resurfacing, or the introduction of a Palm Ridge monitor station to protect employees from inclement weather, or the contribution of the Sports Pavilion and Golf Committees to ensure sound policies, rate structures to support our key bowling and golf profit centers. As you have heard, the Sports Pavilion Committee worked in tandem with Capital Projects Manager Carl Wilhelm to bring a sound renovation plan forward for the Lizard Acres Pub and open a new eatery, Pete's Cafe. Its menu appeals broadly, and the reviews have been positive. If you haven't already been there, I urge you to give it a try. You will hear that all bowling policies were carefully reviewed and overhauled this past year to align them with current sports pavilion practices. We are happy to assure that our cardholder residents are given precedence over outside players in general and on league play, while still protecting the important revenues generated by outside bowlers who come to fill our bowling leagues and make the sport more dynamic for Sun City West resident bowlers. The Golf Committee supported golf operations and environmental services. Once again, the Grandview Irrigation Project, the first of the Reserve Studies golf course irrigation and desert deturfing projects, was a phenomenal effort supported by the board this year that delivered well beyond everyone's expectations, including those residents living on the golf course. Hats off to the Environmental Services Manager, Todd Patty, and his amazing crew for their exceptional work on Grandview Golf Course, only to be repeated again next year as the irrigation system at Echo Mesa Golf Course is updated. Right, Todd? If you haven't seen the Grandview course reconstruction or may not play golf, let's take a quick aerial look at our new Grandview golf course via awesome drone footage supplied by our highly respected AV specialist, Martin Aguero, who Katie had talked about earlier. By the way, Martin is also the one who supplies all of you with our governing board meeting YouTube broadcast. For those of you who don't know, Martin is back there hiding in the AV room, and let's give him a round of applause. And he's going to play the aerial footage for us. Thank you, Martin. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the excellent work of the board's two special committees, TORCH and the Governing Board Election Committee. TORCH, which stands for Tapping Our Resources, Citizen and Heritage, once again conducted 2 citizen academies that produced over 80 graduates, Sun City West residents who are now more familiar with the governance and operating practices of our community. Many Torch Academy graduates migrate onto board committees and sometimes onto the board, which is essential to the continuance of our governance structure and keeping our procedures sound over time. If you are new to Sun City West, we invite you to sign up for one of the upcoming Torch Academies. Sun City West is not like the town or cities most of you came from. We operate differently here, and Torch will show you why and how. Our Governing Board Elections Committee is somewhat under-recognized. This committee organizes and oversees the many, many details of our annual Governing Board Director elections every March. They deal with the good, bad, and the ugly, as they say, as every election year brings new considerations and challenges. And March 2024 was a banner Governing Board election year. A record-breaking 10,000 plus votes were cast. That's just under 40% of total eligible votes in Sun City West. We also had a record-breaking 8 candidates for 3 board seats, and we protected our street parking mandates. Again, the board is very proud of the operational achievements that it has overseen over the past year. The community should be too, and we are now anticipating a new fiscal year starting July 1 that will bring more positive community movement under the direction of Governing Board President-elect Jack Leary. The association is truly in a good place today. The board is highly confident about our community at this time. It's a good time to move forward, to embrace inherent changes, challenges, and opportunities, but also to embrace positive forward momentum. Let's take a quick peek at a future RCSCW initiatives. I know it's going to be a very exciting year. First and foremost, we are moving into a fast forward mode with a giant strategic planning initiative for our community. As of July 1, President Leary will be working with the Governing Board to develop a set of priorities for fiscal 24-25. The board plans to engage a consulting firm to help us develop our strategic plan. The plan is vital to the continued success of Sun City West, especially with generational changes rapidly coming our way. A skilled third party with expertise and experience beyond that of our own will make our strategic plan one that will serve us for many years. We are not strategic planners. That's not a weakness, it's a fact. Admitting we need help will lead us to a better outcome. Of course, the elephant in the room is how to pay for this experience and expertise. The Governing Board will have to address the funding challenge before it can move forward. To continue the elephant analogy, we may find that we can eat the elephant only in small bites rather than all at once. To say we're jumping in with both feet would be careless. We will take the necessary steps in the proper order. The vision for this strategic plan is to involve residents with experience and expertise in areas like finance, technology, risk management, legislation, and so forth. An oversight committee consisting of staff and residents will be created. That special oversight committee will function as the project sponsor and oversee the consulting company. A project manager will be required to interface with his or her equivalent with the consulting company. We envision that residents will be selected based on resume submission and interviewing to be sure we have qualified people. Earlier, I mentioned the Charter Club Space Utilization Group. They worked for a year to gather and prioritize business requirements and make recommendations regarding the software requirements to effectively manage rec center space. Space utilization is a complicated subject. Consequently, the working group identified and prioritized over 100 space usage business requirements, offered 8 options, and made 6 recommendations for future consideration and action. So we already have a basis for at least one branch of our community strategic plan. Changing subjects, from November 3rd to November 9th, the internationally renowned lawn bowling U.S. Open Tournament is once again coming to Sun City West. We last hosted in 2019, with international lawn bowlers from around the world excited to be coming back to our top-rated lawn bowling venue. You'll see preparations for this event this summer, which see Sun City West and Sun City will co-host. Lawn bowling events will include both men's and women's fours and pairs competitions, and they're reaching capacity fast at men's fours in the high 90 percentile and ladies in the high 80s. And by the way, many of our own Sun City West lawn bowlers will compete as well, so be sure to come and cheer them on. Because of its international profile and coverage representing 11 different countries, this tournament will also give us a stellar opportunity to showcase Sun City West. Changing topics again, I want to bring you up to date on even more exciting news. The GM Search Committee is busy evaluating potential new general managers for the recreation centers. The committee is composed of 9 owner members who are hard at work with professional recruiter Heather Rentschler of Ralph Anderson and Associates. Heather has conducted a nationwide search and received over 80 applications for the job. Screening interviews were held this week with the hope of bringing in final candidates for in-person interviews next week. Well, so fast progress is definitely being made, and we may just have a permanent general manager in place as early as September. If I had to title my speech today, I'd call it Keeping Pace with Change to Leverage Future Opportunity, but that's just another cliche, and frankly, embracing change is always a responsibility of the board. The board understands that it must leverage change in a positive way, and the board plans to make meaningful changes next year. I've just touched on a few of them with you, but I want to finish my thoughts today with 2 somewhat reminders. First, we know that 2024 brings another national and local election year, one that undoubtedly will go down in history. Election years seem to elicit strong emotions in our community, and we are already facing challenges with political signage, political flags, petitioning on our property with residents exercising just plain bad behavior. The board asks all of our Sun City West residents to be patient and well-mannered. People are entitled to their opinions. That they may not agree with yours doesn't make them worthy of your disdain and disrespect. The board cannot instruct our residents what to believe or how to behave, but we can encourage everyone to be tolerant, please. Second, we've survived 2 board director recalls in a few short years. Those actions, right or wrong, in your opinion, should be teaching mechanisms for all of us. Governing board directors are duly elected or removed by you, the owner members. We should be personally aware and invested and involved in creating positive change. Why not run for the governing board to participate in positive change and be visible on the front line, in the front row? Put your talents to good use and your words to action and take on the challenges that the directors sitting up here have taken on. Please be here to benefit your community, enjoy your retirement, relish our amenities, appreciate our clubs, maybe even try out a few new ones. Make friends with your neighbors, defend our community's reputation, step up to community service or run for the board to help the board sustain our magnificent Sun City West. Let's take one last look back at what we have here in Sun City West to be thankful for, be hopeful about in the year to come. Martin has put together a beautiful montage of your Sun City West. Thank you, Martin. That was beautiful. We're now going to open it up for resident comments. If you'll come to the mic and give us your name and rec card number. Oh, yes, we can take a 5-minute break. Carl. Oh. Thank you. Everybody here?
You ready?
Thank you.
Are you ready?
I am. I think, Karen, are you back there? Oh, okay, thank you. I couldn't see you back there,
You
so
can see-
we are ready to go.
You're
Thank
ready,
you.
good.
Give us
Good
your-
morning, my name is Greg Exelby. I lived here 7 years. I love it. I love living with like-minded people.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you. Welcome, Greg.
What's up? Do you have a legal representation? Do you have a lawyer? Who represents you legally?
We do have counsel, but.
Could you
he's-
could you give me that address and that person, please? Give me all the facts, their phone number, their address, and their name. Would you mind that?
We will have to email that information.
That's fine,
to
that's
you.
fine.
Okay, great.
Can I get a copy of your, when you budgeted money to expand R.H. Johnson Pool, all that is public record?
Yes,
Could you direct me to the acquisition of the expansion of the pool, the equipment, the model numbers, the serial numbers, and the capacity of the equipment? Okay,
Carl?
so let me continue. There are questions.
Okay.
Do you realize what's the water quality of R.H. Johnson? What percentage from 0 to 100 is the quality of the water as of June the 15th? Give me a number. What's acceptable for swimming in a pool? Give me a number. The number is 70% clarity of the water, okay? The water is a pig pen. And I have been dealing with you guys for 3 years. Can you address all of this? Okay, filthy water. Is there a Big Mike here? Do you know Big Mike? Who's Big Mike? He comes around R.H. Johnson Pool, and I don't know who he is, but he's called Big Mike.
He's an employee?
Apparently.
No?
Well, I was prepared to go through the legitimate process of dealing my frustration and complaints legally through the process. Your Big Mike comes to me in the foyer of the R.H. Johnson Pool, says to me, "What's your problem?" I said, "The water's filthy." He says, "That's the way it is, and what are you gonna do about it?" So what I'm doing about it is this, okay? I know the difference between a threat and a promise. You're not giving me the information I want. You're shining me off. You're ignoring me completely, and I'm going directly to it. I have technical support behind me for as far as what we're expected as clarity of pool. The pool's cleaned in the morning, according to all the facts right here. It's clean in the morning, gets dirty in the afternoon. Everybody says it's a filtration system. What are you going to do about it? I've been after you for 3 years. My time up?
Yeah. Could I address your question?
You sure can, sir, because I've been sending you stuff
Yes,
for
and
months.
I want to indicate to you that the nature and the hostility that was in there, I'm not going to respond to you that way.
Well, that's why I'm asking for you. That's why I'm asking for
Excuse
your
me,
legal advice.
excuse me,
because
could I-
you
may I
guys,
speak,
you guys
sir?
have committed. You're Mr.
Sir, I
Mr.
think this conversation's over.
Mr. Boston has said to me that you know that the water is cloudy. You know it. He said it in an email. I know the water is cloudy. He told me it's safe to swim in. Do you want to read the facts I've been sending you guys about? You can get E. coli, stomach, diarrhea, all kinds of things.
Okay, if
So,
you'll allow
here- this is one
if you'll
more thing.
allow the general manager to speak, he will.
Well, he can
address-
speak after I finish. Okay, so I know the difference between a promise and a threat. I make a
Okay,
promise to
your
myself.
time is up. Your time is up.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back after somebody else is there.
I would like to offer a little clarity to this conversation. So we've been in contact, this individual's been in contact with us a number of times. But what I will tell you is this, our numbers on our pools are good. We've actually had, excuse me, sir, may I finish? I think if you're going to be disruptive, we may have to remove you from the facility. Please be respectful. We're being respectful to you. Please be respectful. All right, let me finish, please. Now, I indicated that emails that have really intense, I'm not sure if there was swearing in the last one or not, but all I know is it was very angry, and we've been working with it. We had an expert out again yesterday. We have an email among staff that was circulated. This person is an expert we rely on. We're working, your issue is not the water chemistry as it is the clarity of the water. Okay, so let me address that. We have a couple things we're working on as far as back flushing. There's considered to be channeling through the glass filters that we use. We don't use sand filters, we use a better quality filter than that. Your allegation that they were misappropriated size-wise when it was constructed is false, because we had complete, excuse me, I'm talking. Be respectful, to be quiet, please. So anyhow, we have complete capacity work on there. We're working on it. So just so everyone else knows what's going on, we do have a professional giving us reference, and we're getting it resolved. So thank you very much for your time.
We're going to take a recess, please.
Thank you.
Is it Miss or Mr. Jordan who signed up here? Oh, okay, so that's fine. There is no comment. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, you're next.
My name is Lana Fisher. I've lived here for 10 years, and that is why we have the Be Kind signs coming around.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so I want to address this watching for carnivores and how what you do to help people. This last year, we had a lot of chupacabras come in to associate with the coyotes. And I did ask, I went even to Clint Hickman. I went all the way up to our own bigger government people, and nobody would come to help get rid of the chupacabras. Those are dog-like animals, sort of, that look like coyotes. They have kind of a charcoal skin. They're usually hairless, except for a little tomahawk. And they're new here. Now, because of the winter, they seem to have left. But they're from Mexico, and they're in Texas and here and the warmer places. And I would like to have somebody be able, they're threatening to me as far, I mean, I've seen them 11 times, so it's not as though this is a myth animal. It is a real animal. There have been pictures of it in the newspaper. And I would like to be able to have somebody, when they come back in the summertime, to be able to capture them and remove them from our community.
All right, thank you for your comments. This is a big part of why we wanted to partner with this person that's putting this together. She's got some very qualified resources. I don't have the names in front of me, but Southwest Biological Center, I don't know all the names. We're going to put a press release out on it soon. This all just came together very quickly. But we wanted to jump on this opportunity because there is a lot of misunderstanding about urban coyotes and other carnivores within the community. So this comes up, you know, periodically when there's a lot of coyotes. Usually there's a lot of rabbits first, then there's a lot of coyotes. Just depends on the weather and the seasons. If you remove a coyote from a location, it creates a void. The younger juvenile coyotes will move in there, will fight for territory, and we'll see this vacancy and have many more babies. You're not going to remove them, and there is no way to peaceably trap one and relocate it. The original animal will die, and the other ones will move back into that territory. The fact is, we have beautiful golf courses with a water supply and a food source. It's very attractive to the coyotes. They're going to move here. What we need to do is find a way to live peaceably with them and to understand their behavior. They're here and they may follow you. They're curious animals. Doesn't mean they're about to attack. They have very specific behaviors, very specific patterns. If they act outside of that, yeah, we can call game and fish, but just watching you on the street, sitting on a golf course is very normal behavior. This gal, if you fill out a report, they're going to communicate with you if you indicate on there that you want to be contacted, and they can talk to you. And we're going to have in the fall some seminars with them where they will come forward and give us this educational component, because there is a lot of misunderstanding. Hopefully that answers that.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you. They'll address that. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. Lynn Kellis, 129120, owner member. A couple of things. I do have a question for Katie, but I'll save that for the last. I think it's always understated how much work goes into our community and how much all these people do. And for Ken and the governing board, thank you. You know, all your volunteers, and for you stepping up when we needed someone desperately. But there are a couple of people that really come to mind. I mean, they're all great, but Casey and her team has done back bends to help the charter clubs and doing a great deal. And Sunny and doing what she does with all our events is just phenomenal. But above and beyond that, I've had the opportunity to deal with both Russ Boston and Carl. And Carl Wilhelm does so much more than anybody knows. Our club just went under kind of a major redo for the floors, and it was a huge task. And if you've never seen those people work, go see a club that's being remodeled. Coming up soon is going to be the Silver Club. Those guys descend on the club, and they do it as a group of people. We probably had 15 of his guys in there helping us move stuff out, and then in the reverse, moving it back in, making sure everything was done perfectly so we could set up and be back in business. So I just really want to say thank you to them, first off.
Thank you.
Besides the fact that he's also our security. Thank you, Carl. And then my question was to Casey, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry about that. You had mentioned all the new VoIP phones, and I think that's fantastic. And I know that those phones do require power. Mm-hmm. My question to you is, currently we have some landlines like out at Beardsley for emergency lines out in the hallways, out in the breezeways. I'm asking if you're going to keep those. And the reason I ask is if we do have a major disaster, power outage, something like that, landlines are always the first ones to come up, and they're also the more reliable. Is it possible that we're keeping those?
So those are the courtesy phones. Yes. And right now we don't have any way to track how many calls are made to or from those specifically. With the new system, we will. And once we start on the new system, we're going to keep them through the beginning and see, are they used, are they not used? But in the case of emergency, if you lose the power and you've got a VoIP phone there, you're going to lose that phone. If they're needed, we can certainly keep them, but we don't want to keep them and maintain them if nobody is using them. We had found in analysis before it was mainly used for long distance calls. We shut that down. Now they sort of disappear every once in a while because they are just home phones that can be plugged in anywhere. But if there's a need and the community indicates that, or we see a higher usage than expected, we'll certainly keep those.
Right. I don't think they're high usage. In fact, I'll bet that they're not. My thought is, in case of a disaster or whatever it may be, you have no access. So if something happened, it shut down, or we have somebody trapped and need help, that landline could get us that help from fire department or whoever it might be. Sure. So just a comment. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Morning. My name is Terry Barker. My member number 126507. I have been here approximately 8 years, and I've noticed over a period of time, we've enjoyed our time here. noticed over a period of time in the last 4 years, there's been a dramatic uptick in rental property in our neighborhood. A little concerned that there's nothing in the CCNRs that manages or directs rental units, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe somebody can correct me on that. But I called into your CCNR department, they said there's nothing there.
Riley's going to come to the
Okay.
podium. Mhm.
Okay.
You are absolutely correct. We have over 228 different sets of CCNRs that govern Sun City West. That was just the way that Del Webb had created this. He basically created a new set of CCNRs for each territory that he built. And they are a little bit antiquated in the fact that, they started in 1978 and ended in 96 with the expansion area. The expansion area does have some information regarding rentals, but the ones that were established earlier do not. I know there's currently some legislation that's going on statewide in trying to regulate the Airbnbs, if you will, or the short-term rentals, but we do not have anything in the CCNRs that govern that right now.
Okay, the reason I do mention that, I've lived in 2 other retirement communities before coming here, and both of those communities were located in Colorado, not here. And they both recognized that they were having a problem. They were becoming more and more inundated with freestanding rental units, homes. And they had a problem finding out who the ownership was of those rental properties, and they were seeing that homeowners were getting concerned, and it didn't come to the attention of any of the boards until financial institutions brought it to their attention that, hey, if you have a higher percentage of rental units, we have a concern about the homeowners, the ones that are concerned with the property and pay the taxes, do the upkeep, are there to look after their units. So I guess I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. It may be something you wish to look into. They did at one of the retirement areas establish a percentage of freestanding homes that could be done, and that takes ongoing people to look at that to make sure the percentages are correct. And they did limit the persons that they would allow to have rental units. If there was an financial institutional, kind of a cover shell operation that would have multiple units stashed throughout, they basically vetoed all that, and their lawyers looked into it, and it was proven to be legal. So it's just something to bring to the board's attention. They may want to take a look at percentages, managing, and seeing how those things are done, so we protect the homeowners of this properties. That's all I had.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for your comment, and I will definitely look into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Riley.
Good morning. My name's Don Schumann. I've been here almost 5 years. My member number is 134912. I want to thank everybody for volunteering to be on the board and the amazing job that the facilities people and all of you guys do. I just have one question. Palm Bridge, I seen Ken's video the other day, is going to be closed for the hottest 2 months of the summer to resurface. I just ask when you do this that you think about the people that live here full time. I understand logistically it makes sense, but now with more people staying here year round and not so many snowbirds, I think it would have been wise to maybe do that November, December, January or something, because I know there's other pools. RH Johnson has the fitness in the morning, and then the kids come at 10. Some of us don't like that. We like to go to Palm Bridge early in the morning, do our thing, and leave. Just when you schedule these things, try to think of the rest of us that are here year-round and not close a pool the hottest 2 months of the year. I think it would be better suited for the rest of us. But again, I'm not complaining. Just thank you very much. Just think it through when you make these projects, because some of us do live here year-round. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you do bring up a point, and over the 7 years, I've had this question asked of me multiple times. We are recognizing the trends, as you heard today, that more people are staying year-round. You know, and I mean this respectfully, but year-round, everybody's impacted, whether you're, you know, whether I do it to the folks that are here year-round, or whether I do it during high season, you as a year-round resident are still affected. So it's a very difficult decision. There are the other factors of trade availability. Some products can't be done in the wintertime. Not saying that's the case with this, but just please think of it from the big picture. But for 7 years, I've had to answer this question about folks that have not chosen to be snowbirds. Highly respect you for your choice and enjoying the community 365 days. But, you know, I think you're still going to be, from a discussionary point about what the overall community prefers, is that we do our projects between May and September. So we do our best. We do have all the other pools at the same time. I definitely do not close more than one pool or recreation facility at a time unless there's an emergency. So I hope that information helps. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Carl.
Kathy Estes. I'll keep it really brief. I just wanted to thank you, the board, for all of the volunteer work that you do and all the time you spend. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. And to the staff, who is absolutely wonderful, a job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Oh, that is, okay. Thank you, thank you. No. Thank you. Oh, I guess with no more comments, we are going to adjourn. There is one online comment.
This comment is from Belinda Porta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. What about the single-family homes that have been turned into multi-occupant facilities in Sun City West?
Riley, would you mind, please?
We are aware of those. There's two, to be specific, and they are under litigation right now, so it's with our legal, so I can really not comment. Two. Thank you.
Thank you, Riley. I appreciate it. And that is the only one. There are no more online comments. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the annual meeting. We're going to roll right into the governing board meeting. The next annual meeting is June 19th, 2025, right here at Palm Ridge. With that, the meeting is adjourned. And I am going to call the governing board meeting to order. Oh. Casey, do you want to pull your partition back quickly? You may keep them. Casey does have coffee and cookies over here if you would like to grab some before you leave. Yep. And thank you for coming with this. We're going to move to 8.01 with the governing board regular meeting amended minutes. If there are no changes or corrections, they will stand as written. Right. No, directors? No, okay, great, thank you. Karen, they will stand as written. And with that, we are going to roll right into the end of year reports from our committee chairs. We're going to start with 901, Budget and Finance, Director Rhodes.
Thank you. My name is Dick Rhodes. and I'm the director of, or excuse me, I'm the chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee. I had the privilege of being elected as treasurer of the of Sun City West last year and the year before last, and so this will be the end of my 2 years as chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm going to have an abbreviated report. I have written what in essence are bullet points, and I don't know that they're really worthy of going into a real lengthy discussion with. I was told many years ago that the endurance of the meeting is solely attributable to how long you can sit in that seat. Okay, so my assumption is that we're right close right now. Alrighty. Oh, yeah, over. So the first thing I want to do is to recognize the Budget and Finance Committee members. We've talked about this before. They're all owners members. They all have a financial background. So these are people that understand money, and they understand that when people say it's not about the money, it really is about the money, you know. And those are the things that we look at. How do we spend our money? But I want to recognize Gary Bosack, Dr. David Miller, Frank Bagnato, Christine Novello to my right, Dwayne Parsons, Lynn Kellis in our audience right here, and Ray Davis. They were the troopers that sat through every meeting that we held, every public meeting. There were 16 of them, and we sat through those meetings. Some of those were many hours long, but in the interest of having everyone's opinion, we had to sit through that duration of that and do our diligence. There are several things that I want to talk about. We reviewed in length all of our capital projects, and we did it over a period of time. So we did recommend that certain projects be taken out. It's up to the governing board whether it would be done or not. I think one of the more significant things that we did is we created a working group, and we created a working group, and we asked Christine Novello to be the advisor for that working group, and then Gary Bosack, Ray Davis, and Cliff Swan. And they were on that. Their charge was to identify, collect data, analyze data, search for rationale to justify rejection, identify alternatives, and formulate discussion points for referral to the Budget and Finance Committee. And that's finance talk for saying, is there a better way? Is there a better way that we can to project our budgetary needs? And basically what they came up with is there's nothing similar, nothing close to who we are. We wanted to be relevant and germane. And we already have mechanisms in place that we can do projections. And so in essence, what happened is that we came back to say, there's nothing that we want to adopt, but we do want to formally look at how we're doing our projections. So we did review 17 financial policies. If you've ever reviewed a financial policy, 17 is a real treat, okay? We've submitted recommendations, multiple recommendations to the governing board, some of which were accepted and some were not. We reviewed the contingency planning for the proposed legislation that increases the minimum wage to $18. I'm not going to go into that, but it did take a good little bit. And I really want to give recognition to Cliff Swan, because Cliff is the one that kind of crafted the recommendation, or he crafted the strategy, I should say. And we wrestled with it, and we cross-examined Cliff and kind of gave him the third degree. But at the end of the day, we recommended that we accept that, and that has been proposed to the governing board, and which they've accepted as well. And there are some housekeeping chores that we had to do. One of which is that we heard presentations from our insurance carriers, so especially the ones that did workman's comp for us, the ones that do our property and casualty insurance. There are things in there that we can't control, but we at least understand how the premium configuration is constructed, and we accepted that. I think the key thing is that we looked at our reserve fund, and Cap Trust is our independent financial advisor. And just to keep in mind, I'll set the stage for that. Our investment portfolio is based on 10% equities, 90% fixed income. That is asset preservation in anybody's book, okay? And we instruct the financial advisory firm how we want our money invested. So our charge in Budget and Finance Committee is, are they complying with our instructions? And the answer is yes, they are. Now, we are recovering. There was an unrealized loss in the catastrophic drop of the bond market, but we've recovered from that. They told us 3 years ago or 2 years ago, steady the course, don't panic. We're close to recovery now. The last thing I want to talk about is, and on a personal note, I have spent 3 years on the Budget and Finance Committee, 1 year as a member, and then 2 years as the chairman. And I felt that I've been humbled and honored to be able to do that. My position, as was the position of all of the committee members, was do the right thing. Do the thing that the homeowners, what's best for the homeowners. Not what's best for my particular interest. I don't have any bias to do that. And that's what I believe we've done. So when I walk away on June the 30th, and Christine Novello, sitting at my right hand here, will walk up, and she's the new chairman of the committee, I will feel good. I know that I've done exactly what I said I would do. So at that, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be the chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee for 2 years, and thank you for letting me sit on that committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Rhodes. We'll go next to charter clubs with Director Leary.
Thank you. This page up on the screen here is the first of 12 that I'm going to read out loud. No, actually, I'm not going to do that.
With that, we're going to cut off his microphone.
No, the Charter Club Committee met a dozen times this year. That's about right. We had meetings. We had 4 months where we had 2 meetings a month, and a couple months where we canceled meetings. The basic format of our meetings is taking care of business, which is getting liaison reports, giving Casey Huda an opportunity to speak to the audience. We have the liaisons who worked with their different clubs, as the title says, worked between the governing board and the committee. So that worked very well. We had 2 major projects, but what I'm just going to go through is my conclusion, which is 6 bullet points. We had a thorough review of the RRMPs. You've heard about that already. And that was perhaps the first time that had been done in 40 years. We defined the association's space utilization measurement requirements. And as was pointed out, that will be the first, one of the first items that we'd look at in the strategic plan. We implemented the club liaison program, where each committee member was assigned a group of clubs that they worked with. So that worked out very well. We listened to and acted upon feedback from the clubs during our committee meetings, especially during the RRP review, and even during the prior year where we did the tournaments, leagues, and special events working group. We obviously included people from those clubs as well. And then we also, like I said, we provided a forum for the recreation manager to inform the clubs of what's going on. So very quickly, that's what the Chartered Clubs has done. I need to give many thanks to the Chartered Club committee members, Carol Card, Connie Kopf, Judy Thompson, Kathy Estes, Maria DeMeo, Nick Turner, and Vicki Erla. They're the ones who did all the heavy lifting. They did all of the work. They managed me, which is a big task. I think they would agree with that. But they're the ones who deserve the kudos for the success of the Charter Clubs Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Larry. Up next will be Director Williams with Properties.
Thank you. Properties is rather a unique committee. One of our biggest assignments and responsibilities is every year we do a thorough walkthrough with Carl and Russ of every one of our rec center facilities. We go to places you never see. Unfortunately for my committee, their chair is an early bird. So we started at 6:45 every Wednesday morning for 6 consecutive weeks to do this inspection. At the end of that, each one of those sessions, we would have taken notes throughout. This year I have my thanks to Alan as our scribe, who was helping with that, do our final report. Anything that we saw that needed immediate attention, such as a repair or a safety hazard or anything like that, we sent to both Carl and Russ at the end of each one of those inspections. They were super on top of things, and within a week or two, those little things that were important to take care of were done. So that is one of our biggest responsibilities, and then feeding that back into the other part of our responsibilities, and that is the fact that we look very carefully at the budget process for all capital projects, construction, remodels of all of the facilities. As has already been mentioned, one of our other responsibilities is to do a review of all the facilities policy. That list ranges everywhere from capital project planning, donations, memorializations, naming and advertising guidelines, safety awareness, smoke-free environment, allocation of space in association facilities, alcohol restrictions on association property, and association-approved or single-event commercial sponsorships. As you can see, it's a wide variety of things. We reviewed them all, we eliminated one, we changed 4, and said the rest was perfect. 2 teams were put together at the beginning of that process to have their own meetings to come back to the committee to recommend any changes for the group they had. That was done in October and November, and that was forwarded to the governing board for approval. But nothing is ever perfect. When we do these inspections, things change. Like I said, we do the inspections in October. We became aware of a problem with some safety issues on the tennis courts that we needed to take a look at. We made a special meeting with all the key staff, went out and took a look at it, and long story short, those courts will be resurfaced this summer. So the things, it isn't just a one-time shot. Clubs come to us also to present their ideas of changes they would like made in their designated space. You've heard the word space utilization a lot already. Those things come to us as well, of taking a look at what can we do better with the space we have. It's a well-known fact we don't have any other land to develop, so we have to be very cautious and careful with what we have and use it to the best of our facility, and realizing that things change. There was mentioned earlier that we now have 91 chartered clubs. Previously, in 2013 to 16, when I was director on the board, we had 112. Our community was built on the need for activities for residents moving here from all around the country to get settled, make new friends, try new talents, learn new skills, and that's still such a very important and vital part of our community. It's why people move here. Yes, some of them now have different interests than that we had 40 years ago, but we need to stay on top of that and keep current with it. So that's another focus that we do have. We first saw the budget in September. Carl, every month, would come back with any changes or any suggestions of what was changing. We continued going through that until March, and our committee did make recommendations that some items be removed from that proposed budget, and the items that we felt didn't belong there right now because of more serious needs for where we spend our money. The items that we did not recommend was the $225,000 remodel for Lizard Acres, the $100,000 for proposed expansion at the library, the $50,000 proposed plans for what to do with the Kuntz tennis courts, and the replacement of the outfield fence at the softball field to the tune of $495,000. Of course, everybody realizes we as a committee are advisory only. We make recommendations to the board, but the board has the final say. It has been a pleasure to work with some long-termers and new people this last year. So I want to give special thanks to, it's not unusual, Tom Jones, who's right here in the front row, and a long-term member of our committee. We have Sherry Jones, John Hobold, John Nicholas, Nancy Hunt, and Director Schlemmer was also a member of our committee. And last but certainly not least, thanks to all the time we spend with Carl and Russ, not just on the day of a meeting, but 24/7, anytime something happens. So Carl, and relay to Russ how much we appreciate you and what a joy it's been to work with you. You've learned every year to get acquainted with some new members, and that I know gives you some challenges as well. So thank you again.
Thank you, Director Williams. With that, we'll go on to Director Schlemmer for the Golf Committee EOI.
Great. Good morning, everybody. My name's Alan Schlemmer, and I had the opportunity to become chair of the Golf Committee in March of this year after the departure of Director Harry Steinebahn, who was the previous chair. So my tenure on the Golf Committee was relatively short, basically the April, May, and June meetings. But it was a unique opportunity because I came to the committee with no golf experience. I do not play golf. And I looked at this as a fantastic opportunity to really learn inside out the inner workings of one of the largest and most important assets within our community beyond these fine rec centers. And so I took a little different angle in my report today because I came in right as we were looking at the budget process and the board and the committee was ready to make recommendations to the board on setting rates and so forth for the golf courses. One of the things that struck me interesting, if we can move to the next slide, is the way our courses are used. It didn't really surprise me, but the percentages it kind of did. Members, owner members, members of our association actually account for 83% of the players on our golf course. Everybody else is the remaining, 17%. So as we look at rates, the levers that can be pulled to make sure that we are maximizing the use of the courses and generating the revenue that we would like to see come off those courses are really only two levers, the member lever and the outside play lever. And the outside play lever is the one that generates more dollars per user than the member lever. And so it was an interesting dichotomy for the team. So we then did a little further digging, and we'll go to the next slide. What about percentage of capacity? So we know that members use the courses, but when we look at the courses, how much room do we actually have for non-members? Well, when you look at our courses during peak time, they get used a lot. We run generally right around 80%, 85% usage on our courses. Now consider that included in capacity is downtime and things of that nature. So no course is ever 100% available. So what it really tells me is when we look at the amount of use our members are doing, so in terms of capacity, you take that 83% ratio and you apply it against the capacity, our members are using about 70% of the capacity of our golf courses. Then you bring in the non-member play, and then you would factor in the outages, days when you can't play or issues that come up or whatever. And again, the lever to pull for revenue from non-members, the outside play number, becomes even more and more finite. And so this is an interesting balancing act for the committee. Ultimately, at the end of it, the committee worked it through. We had a lot of great discussion amongst the committee and a lot of debate in terms of competitive nature of our courses, the degree to which we do compete with other courses in the surrounding area, the degree to which we take capacity off of other courses and things of that nature. And ultimately, we did come up with the rate recommendation that the board then agreed to and is in the budget. But it was a very interesting process. And as a non-golf player joining this committee, it was interesting to see the work of the committee as they worked through these capacity and usage issues. The next slide coming up is longer term as we look out. We talked a little bit about this when the staff did their presentation. A 5-year plan in terms of tackling the water issues across the community and altering the footprint of some of our grass-intense courses. Now, obviously, this is not guaranteed. This is only a plan. Ultimately, any of these would have to be approved in the annual budget process of the overall governing board. But that's what we'll see coming down on the horizon. And I know I'm skipping a little bit of stuff here just in the spirit of time. And then in my final slide, I do want to call out a bunch of special thanks. Obviously, special thanks to the entire committee. Great committee, lots of engagement. Lisa Vines, Donna Richmond, Tom Wolgamuth, Michael Berg, Kathy Lindahl, Al Kleismeyer, Patty Strait, and Gary Giebelhaus. Excellent work. I really appreciate them allowing me to come on and join them as the chair and allowing me to be a part of that process. And then I do want to give a real call out as well to our green team and especially to Kathy and Jerry Stevens. Patrick mentioned this earlier. Green team is the cultivator of new golf players in Sun City West. And as was said earlier, this is a community where when you retire, you can come and discover who your real self is behind your working self, or who was hidden behind that working self. And they have literally been responsible for bringing hundreds of new golf players onto our golf courses. And so we wish Kathy and Jerry well as they find out what their next adventure is and appreciate their 6 years of dedication. And I do want to thank the staff and Patrick and Todd as well for helping guide me during the short tenure on the committee. My last comment is on my very first slide I had this quote. One of the things I did as committee chair was I would go out periodically and look at the reviews, Google reviews and whatever for our golf courses. And on Golf Pass, which is a great source of golf course information, I found this review that was very concise, but I thought it summed it up. Your course, along with your staff, this is a wonderful place to play. What a great sentiment. Thank you very much. That is my report.
Thank you, Director Schlemmer. Up next is Director Hammond with the Sports Pavilion.
Thank you. You can see it up there. I will try to shorten it up a little bit for you, because I'm sure you're getting tired of sitting here too. The earlier meetings were pretty much discussed on the new lanes that went in that Carl told you about. Of course, anytime you put in something new and you have a lot of bowlers on them, they always have a lot of questions and always a lot of discussion. But I think the lanes went in very well, and most bowlers, are pretty satisfied. Of course, every committee has to review their bylaws, and we did that. And we tweaked, I think, all 5 of them. Lizard Acres is a very popular entertainment facility, but it wasn't designed to be really a pub, and there has to be some modernization. Upgrades to it were talked about, and after a lot of review and discussion between several committees and everything, our committee did recommend that the concept design and capital expense of $225,000 to modernize the Lizard Acre Pub for the year 24 and 25. Of course, the other thing was there is a food facility there, which was Mimo's, and they went out of business. So there was a replacement. The staff really worked on finding their replacement. Our committee basically talked about what kind of food should have, what are the bowlers interested in, what could be done at Lizard Acres and so forth. After a vendor was selected, which we heartily approved, the new cafe is now open over there. And if you haven't tried it, really go try it. It's very good food. The committee also, myself, and President Fine congratulated the Sports Pavilion manager, Barry Hardestein, on his 13-year tenure as a pavilion and his many successes in building the business to a stellar performance. When he came in here, it was kind of on the downward trend, and now it's very much on the upward trend. And may he enjoy a well-deserved retirement. But the only thing we haven't really looked at over there, if you've been there, is the strike zone. It's the place where the bowling balls are drilled, and you can buy bowling balls. And, the fire department came in there and made them make some changes, clean it up a little bit, but also took away some of the area in there. It's not really comfortable to go in there and get fitted for a bowling ball and so forth. It's rather tight. I think that's got to be looked at next year, and that was my recommendation, is that this committee look at that for next year. The committee, which was made up of myself, but I only took over after Lisa became the president. She was the chair most of the year. Ron Ryman, Joe Hoyer, Denise Roden, Paul Kletchner, Gary Zurich, Jim Nesbitt, and Bob Edge. They did a very good job, and I want to congratulate them. And in conclusion, CFO Cliff Swan stated that the Sports Pavilion continues to operate in the positive. He shared that he expects roughly $60,000 in Lizard Acre Pub gross profits and hopes that the remodel moves forward, that it is a popular amenity that pays back to the community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Director Hammond. Up next is going to be Jack Fisher with the Torch Committee, end of year report.
Hello, my name is Jack Fisher. I'm a member of the Torch Committee. The Torch name is an acronym for Tapping Our Resources, Citizens, and Heritage. Torch is a special committee of the governing board that is mandated to provide information on the Sun City West community to members. The committee has been working to provide this service since 2011. We work to educate the members about the community and services available to them by holding a 7-session experience, which we call the Academy. It happens in the spring and fall of every year. With 48 members in each session, we do a deep dive into the working of the Sun City West area, both in presentations by key managers and tours behind the scenes of the facilities. We have organizations providing services to our Sun City West members that present information on their activities and their ability to help Sun City West members. Our next Academy starts October 10th and will run for 7 consecutive Thursdays. The Torch Committee would like to thank the governing board, our general manager, and the Sun City West recreation staff, with special thanks to General Services Manager Katie O'Grady, and the community organizations for their continued support for Torch. Your efforts allow the Torch Academy to provide a unique educational opportunity to residents of our community. And it also provides the volunteerism that is key to providing a great experience. We are looking forward to another successful Fall Torch Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. Up next is Roberta Davidson with the Governing Board Election Committee.
They always put the tall people before me.
Okay. You can go online and read my report, or you might have a copy. I'm just going to spend this time thanking the people on my committee and the volunteers who helped during elections. You know, we started last fall thinking normal election, we might get 3 candidates if we're lucky, and we would go on from there. And then there was a recall. Well, that gave us practice for the general election, at least running an election. And then we, of course, had the regular election, and then they threw in a state referendum, and it was brought up, we had over 10,000 people vote. On election day, we had 2,000 people in line. So it was very crazy. So I first want to thank the members of my committee. Marshall Adams, Ann Brown, Luann Kent, Merle Schrimke, and Sana Serling. And a special thanks to Merle for taking the minutes at our meetings. And then I also want to thank Katie O'Grady, Martin Aguero, and the rest of the IT staff for a great job on the website with the candidate pictures, bios, and videos, and from helping everything run smoothly on election day. Also like to thank our radio station for broadcasting public service announcements for us, not only on the referendum, but getting people out to vote. And then I have a special thanks to Karen Repkin, the Governing Board Executive Assistant. As I always say, it's Karen that makes the trains run on time with the Governing Board. And I want to thank her for all her help in supporting the committee. As I said, we had 2 elections, and the first one gave us practice and got to be the second one, and I figured, well, I have plenty of volunteers. We have enough people until, like I said, 2,000 people showed up in line. So Jack Fisher, who I'd like to thank especially, he helped with both elections, called in the posse, our posse, or the cavalry if you want to call it, and recruited a bunch of volunteers from the Torch Committee. So I would like to thank, as again, Jack Fisher, Bob Campbell, Bob Wilson, Peg Martinez, and Donna Lester for stepping in to help that day. It was a really big help. So, and I also have, thanks to Bob Davidson and Eugene Mintosky, who did the member check-in for both elections. So, like I said, you can read our recommendations. We do have several for the next committee to consider, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberta. That we're up to 9:08 with Director Williams. You have a motion.
Favor. I move to accept the June 24 end-of-year reports as filed information.
Thank you. If there are no objections, they will just be entered as written. Thank you. Okay. Now for the fun. We are on to 10:01. Let me just grab some papers here, shuffle some papers around. Bear with me. For this top, give me 1 second. Jack, You want me to go over my ground rules first before you do that? Okay, so for this topic, I have, there's a few ground rules we're gonna lay down before Jack reads his motion. And let me get this right here. There's a couple of Robert's Rules of Order that we're going to follow, and I want to make sure that the board is aware of them. So one is each director has the right to speak twice on this before I call for the vote, and we will exercise that before that subject is going to be exhausted. Maximum time for each speech will be, is it combined, Bonnie, 10 minutes total? Combined, 10 minutes? Okay. So it'll be a combined time of 10 minutes. So with that, Jack, I'm going to ask that you read your motion.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the governing board.
I just want to clarify. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. I move that the governing board approve the in-gross revisions to policy C03 entitled Standing Committees of the Board as redlined.
Second.
Second.
Yep. Open for discussion. Any other comments from directors? We'll go straight to a vote. Oh, Director Rhodes?
I do. I just want to have an issue of clarity. This is the same question I asked at our last meeting.
Okay.
Because this has been revised so many different times, and we've had so many different iterations of it. So the committee chair shall select committee members who have served no more than 3 consecutive years on a committee. Okay? So does that mean that if I have someone that served 3 years, we won't select them and we'll use BNF, on
Okay.
BNF, but that person can go to another committee. There is no issue in here about a year off.
That is correct.
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you.
We removed that. Any other comments? Okay, so Director Laird, if you'll read your motion again, then I can call for the vote.
I move that the governing board approve the in-gross reservations to policy C03 entitled Standing Committees of the Board as redlined.
Thank you. So to clarify, a yes vote moves it forward the way it is written. A no vote kills it. I'm going to start with Director Hammond.
Yes.
No. Yes.
Yes.
Director
Yes.
Williams. Director Piaskowski.
Yes.
Director Rhodes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. By a vote of 7-1, this motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, directors. Moving on to 10:02, it's just a statement that I would like to bring forward regarding Charter Club meeting behavior concerns. This has to do with the last Charter Club meeting. And there was, Charter Club behavior was not shown, was not displayed in a very positive light at that meeting. But I want to just read a little bit something. Space to hold event goes hand in hand with number of events. The reality is that Sun City West does not have unlimited facilities. I think anybody who belongs to a charter club knows this. Also, charter clubs, we use the facilities. We reserve the facilities. It's not just mandatory that the rec center has to give us a facility. So I think people need to understand that. A particular space may not be available when you want it. This is the way that was handled at that meeting by certain charter club officers from different clubs. It wasn't all one club, it was various clubs. That's not how you handle it. We have protocol for how you handle when you're not happy with something. And this is just from me, not just as your governing board president, but I'm a past 3-year charter club president. If you're not happy with something, you set a meeting with the department head, and maybe you go to the general manager. You don't display it in a charter club meeting, a BNF meeting, any of the standing committee meetings. You don't send out mass emails and ask people to attend to where over 100 people show up, and then the meeting can't get started because everybody has to be in a seat before we can't have people standing. It creates dissension. So there's reasons we have protocols in place. I go back to what I read in my speech. It just exhibits bad behavior. And that's not what Sun City West is about. And I think part of this is it starts, if you're a club officer, this is on you to display good, positive behavior, and your club will follow. So that's just me, and I just want to throw that out there because Sun City West is a great place to live, and we need to keep the positive, be kind, and again, I reiterate, with upcoming elections, you know, we already are seeing residents exhibit bad behavior. So I just wanted to touch base on that, and just, there's a reason we have protocols in place. Use them. Make the appointments with the, your recreation manager. And if you're not happy with that, then go up the chain. But that's how it works. Okay? Thank you. Okay, I guess we have some recognitions we're going to take care of now. Are we still? Okay, we're still. So the board would like to recognize Director Terry Hammond for the past 2023, 2024 year for not just a governing board director, but as a committee chair. We appreciate his service and his effort in appreciation of his outstanding volunteerism and dedication to the recreation centers of Sun City West. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to recognize Lisa Vines and give her this certificate in recognition and appreciation of her outstanding volunteerism and dedication to the recreation centers of Sun City West for the period 2021 to 2024. And during that time, she has been a governing board director, the president, the vice president, the secretary, and a committee chair. So I think she deserves a big round of applause for taking all of that on. Thank you, Lisa. She's getting us a picture.
We're going to do one more. The board would also like to recognize our parliamentarian. This certificate of recognition is awarded to Bonnie Ellis in recognition of her exceptional and dedicated service as 2020 to 2024 Governing Board Parliamentarian. Thank you, Bonnie. I so appreciate you. Yeah. I thank her for saving me. We now have director comments. Director Novello.
None for a change.
Director Rhodes.
I've already made comments about my end of tenure and chairman, but I do want to recognize one person, and I didn't do that earlier, and I wish I would have, and that's Cliff Swan. Cliff has been, in the time that I have been on the Budget and Finance Committee, Cliff has been absolutely invaluable. And I've got him on speed dial, you know, so I personally want to thank you, Cliff, and I publicly want to thank you. Terry as well, and I just can't say enough about you folks. Thank you very much.
Director Piaskowski.
Okay, so I just want to thank all the residents for hanging out here for as long as you guys have and for attending the meetings throughout the year. Last year at this general meeting, I was asked by the president at that time, Tim Hurley, if I would run for the board. And I said, absolutely yes. So here I am. I'm your newest governing board person on the board. I'm looking forward to working with all the fellow board members to make this a better community. The residents have elected every one of the board members. With that said, we are all on the same playing field, here to serve and listen to our Sun City West residents. So I urge all of you to get involved in the community, ask questions, and attend the meetings. It is important that this board has goals, key initiatives, and be ready to act on challenges. So again, Sun City West is an awesome place to play, live, and serve. So thank you again for attending, and I'll see you in September. Is that a song? I think so.
Well, I can be known as the historian of the group because I have been on the governing board as a director before from 2013 to 16, came back as a special request when there was a one-year vacancy, and now I'm on finishing the first of a 3-year term. We've lived here 20 years. I've seen a lot of changes, but the one thing that hasn't changed is the quality of our residents, the lovely place they have to live, and a governing board that is dedicated to remember we work for you. I encourage you to attend more meetings next year. And you don't have to come, of quite so early to a properties meeting if you just come to a regular one, because that's 9 o'clock in the morning, so we won't get you up before breakfast, but do attend more of the standing committee meetings. Keep yourselves informed, and thanks for the pleasure of serving for all of this community. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I still wear my name tag at home so my husband remembers who I am.
I know that you thought you were going to end this meeting and go to lunch, and actually you might be able to go to dinner, so I'll be brief. I do want to thank Terry and Lisa for their contributions to the board and for their dedication and for their guidance as a new board member over the last year. Thank you very much, and thank you as well to Bonnie serving as our parliamentarian. And I also really like the annual meeting because it's an opportunity for all of us to be reminded how amazing this place is, how incredibly large it is, and how complicated it is to run it. And I appreciate all of the work of our staff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your reports today, and thank you to our interim manager, Ken, for his guidance today as well. Thank you to all of you for being here.
At the risk of being up here too long talking, I do want to add my thanks to the staff. Again, it's a three-legged stool. We all work together, so I do appreciate all of that. But I will. So you're tired. So you don't get tired of hearing my voice. I'm just going to pass it off to Mr.
Lisa, I think this is a new record even for you. As far as a long meeting at 3.5 hours, and we're not done yet. I certainly hope this is a record that never gets broken.
Those are hard comments to follow. I can't believe all you people stayed out here and suffered it out. That was 3 hours also. Thank you. We appreciate it. Since this is my last time on this committee, thanks to staff. We have an excellent staff. I've been on this board before, and the staff quality is the same, if not better, than what it was back then. So thank you, everybody, and thanks, Lisa, for working with me.
Right back at you, Terry. I am just going to say real quick, a big shout out to thank you to all of you directors. Some of you I've worked with for a long time. It's been great. I love it. Thank you to all of you that have been here this whole time. I appreciate it. And thank you to the staff. You have been extremely supportive of me, and I appreciate it. Right now, we're going to go to guest comments.
My name is Dave Bennett, rec card number 137887. I've been at the mic quite a few times over the last year, and I usually had an issue or something, but today I just wanted to thank all of you guys for your volunteering and all the hard work you do and willingness to meet with me. Thank you very much, Mr. Leary, and to help resolve the issues and things, and the staff that they do, and this wonderful community and things. And so I just wanted to come up here and say something positive. It's like if you have an issue, you talk about it and people gripe at you, but nobody comes up and says all of the thousands of things you do right and things you should all be patted on the back and stuff. So I just wanted to do that. And that's a slight side issue. I don't know if you want to hear this, but I'm an expert on swimming pools. I've got degrees in microbiology and chemistry. There's no health issue with cloudy water. And from what you've said, you've identified the problem and you're working on it. The only issue is a safety issue. If somebody passes out at the bottom of the pool, you want to be able to see them. So it's a clarity issue. It's not a health issue. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that along. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. If there are no more comments, we'll move on to 1301. For me, this is perhaps the most exciting part of this meeting, besides when we adjourn. But it is this moment that I get to hand the gavel officially off to Director Leary, which is truly exciting for me. Director Leary, I am truly honored to be able to say, I give you this gavel with great pleasure. Take it.
Thank you, President Vines. I appreciate it, and I
wish you well.
thank you. And I thank my governing board colleagues for having the confidence to elect me to lead us for the next fiscal year. And I will do my best to leave things better than they are when I received them. And they're in pretty darn good shape right now. So that's going to be a big challenge. So thank you very much.
Jack, I think you still have some housekeeping to do.
Yeah, I told you you're going to get tired of hearing my voice. 1401, which is the elected board leadership positions. So these have been announced previously, but we do this officially here. I am your president for the fiscal year 24-25. Vice president is Alan Schlemmer. Treasurer is Christine Novello. And the secretary is Kay Williams. So please join me in thanking them for taking these on. 14.02 is the announcement of the chairperson appointments. This may be the world's worst kept secret, I don't know. We already know that the Budget and Finance Committee, it will be chaired by Christine Novello with her election as treasurer. Chartered Clubs is Alan Schlemmer. Golf is Rudy Grom. Properties is Kay Williams. And Sports Pavilion / Bowling is Dick Rhodes. So please congratulate them. And 14.03, the special committee continuation status. There are two committees. The Elections Committee will be co-chaired by Lou Ann Kent and Leslie Young. And the Torch Committee, which was renewed in March 2024 at our regular meeting, will be chaired by Bob Wilson. So let's thank them for taking up those positions.
Wonderful, thank you. With that, the next governing board workshop is September 13th, at 9 a.m. in the lecture hall, which I'm happy to say Jack is so excited to be chairing that meeting.
I am. I really am.
And this meeting is adjourned.